Stay mobile,
Make sure these.
just to like be able to fit into my
And then
clothes.
just
Yeah.
people pop in, you just let them in.
Yeah, you can start video too. There you go. And you can make that full screen. You can put it all in right now.
Yeah.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Oh,
Welcome to the 2024-25 budget workshop. Wanted to let everyone know from the start, we are able to in these, that's mine, economic times, you can have that. Keep our increase to less than 1%. And I applaud Danae and Julie for their efforts, and we worked really hard on this. So if you want to go, we'll go line by line on any of these, and if anybody has any questions as we go through them. I do want to skip A1210 because at the urging of my deputy mayor and trustee Filomeno, we put an increase in the mayor's salary. But I will discuss that later. I will leave the room and let you guys discuss it because I don't want to have a part in it. But as far as the Board of Trustees, we kept them the same as last year. Justice, personal services, equipment and contractual is the same as last year as well. A little bit, $200 more. And we'll skip 1210 auditor. We will not have to have an audit this year, so we don't plan on any expenditures. Clerk treasurer, personal services, Julie, I put in for a raise for Julie. She takes work home. She does above and beyond what is required of her. And that's just not her. It's also the office costs, contractual stuff is phones and office supplies. None of that is increasing dramatically. You need a different pen? Here's one.
Is that, I'm new to this, so is that what contractual is? It's everything.
Like
everything
phones,
In,
mhm,
okay,
Electric,
electric,
everything,
everything, all the
That's-
utilities.
okay,
paper, pens, all of it.
okay.
We don't pay a water bill, which is good.
Ray, is there a salary breakdown? In the past, we used to get like a salary, rate of pay breakdown.
Yeah, that'll be coming up. We have those in the sheets. Do we have those in? this?
No.
No, it's not in this, but I can do I have the sheets here. If you want to go over that, we can discuss
So
that.
for instance, we don't know what Julie went from where to what.
Okay, we
where,
can speak
from here
here.
to where or whatever.
I'll say it's, it went from.
But we'll get that sheet
well,
later,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
You will.
We don't
I'll
need-
say it doesn't give the hourly breakdown, it just gives total pay breakdown.
For you?
Yeah,
Your
for
salary.
everybody's.
Yeah. The other ones, we would get like, ex-employee went from this pay rate to this pay rate.
Yeah, and
50
those
cents
ones
an
do,
hour,
but because we're
$1.
salaried,
But I know.
it's not $1 an hour.
Billy, did they get the long sheets?
I
that you
have-
Copied the worksheets? Cause that has
Uh-uh.
all the salary. I thought that you took.
Oh, no, I
sheets.
just did one for myself.
Oh, I
these
thought
ones,
you
I
were
didn't have
copying it for
these.
the
I have
guys.
that here, John, and we can run some copies.
Oh, I'll go. I got it.
You got it? Okay.
Is that for everybody's salary?
Yes, every person is named by name in their departments. Which I think, yeah, we should do that. We can do that first. Or we can do that as the department comes to discussion, however you want to do it.
This is this is a workshop.
It's a workshop. We can do whatever we want. There's no
Any
format.
decisions are gonna be made. today, right?
No, we're just gonna see, you know,
Go over,
get
see
a,
how it looks.
see what it
make
looks
the
like, see
adjustments
what
if
your
we have
thoughts
to.
are. If you have any changes you'd like to make, or if you don't agree with something, then we'll discuss it. But at the meeting on the 25th, I'm hoping to pass an iteration of, have to pass an iteration of this. So any changes that have to be made would have to be made before the 25th. That's our annual
Oh,
organizational
okay,
meeting.
I'm looking at the wrong month. Like, wait, 25th is a Thursday? I won't be here.
No, 25th is a Monday.
Monday, yeah, no, I looked at the, I was looking at the wrong month.
We also have a meeting on.
We have the 18th.
So,
Which is where I would you know, I would hope to take any final suggestions on the meeting in the 18th. So that we can finalize for the reason the annual organizational meeting is in March is because Easter is the the 30th of March, and the first is Easter Monday, so that would be normally April 1st, we would have it, but Easter's been messing with us the last couple of years.
Mhm.
So we have to have this pretty much put to bed on the 18th.
25th.
Well, 25th, I mean, if you have any suggestions after the 18th meeting, but I suggest you bring them up on the
What does
18th,
it, okay.
so that we'd give
So,
Danae time to rework any figures if they do. I'm not sure. I think, and I'm not patting myself on the back, I think this is a good budget. We spent a lot of time on this, and it's really troubling economic times, and I added money to all of the departments that I said I felt we needed: trees and buildings and repairs and improvements on our infrastructure. We're also keeping our employees, with employee retention incentives, obviously. We have to keep them showing up to work, but we slashed a lot of things that really weren't necessary. We took a lot of things out of this current budget in order to not budget for it next year. And other departments that didn't spend, we would transfer the money to pay for things out of our existing 23-24 budget to not have to budget for it next year. So we really saved a lot of money by doing just that. So knowing what we have coming,
Mhm. Like as far as, are you gonna go through that as we walk through it?
Yeah.
What was cut? And
Mhm.
then through that?
well, you'll be able to see like what was budget. A lot of things stayed the same out of caution, even though we didn't spend all of the money we had budgeted. And mind you, there's still 3 months left.
okay, press on.
Press on. All right. So I left off at clerk treasurer. Legal advertising is gonna stay the same. That is not advertising for events or village events. That is advertising for our meetings, when we have to put a notice in the paper that we're going to have a meeting. That's what that cost is. So we send the Post-Star that information. Credit card fees, we did not completely use up everything we budgeted for last year, but seeing that we may be adding another parking lot, we may see more credit card fees, and I just want to be prepared for it.
Thank you.
As far as law goes, that is Matt Fuller. They sent us a letter of increasing their rate, which we've been getting a very fair rate from them. They don't bill us every time they make a phone call, but we did raise it accordingly to the 20% that their increase of hourly wage is, to plan for that increase. I don't see the need to go out and look for another attorney. I think they're,
And so we have that on the 18th agenda
We-
to go over
yeah.
the increase.
I can imagine that, because it's kind of a new team here, that you kind of lean on that a little bit more than in the past.
yeah, and they do a bang up job, really. I mean, they never don't return a phone call. They're Johnny on the spot with emails and meetings whenever we need them.
So this is what we pay him for the year, or are we also paying him more sometimes?
That's for the year.
No, we never really maxed that out, right?
No, we came close this year, though.
Yeah.
We've transferred.
You're over now.
Yeah,
We're
we
over.
are over, that's right. Because of the dissolution last year, we had to pay
Right.
a lot more than we expected. So say engineer contractually, we don't have a lot planned as far as needing an engineer for anything other than water, which is not included in this. So we put 25,000 in as a placeholder in case we have to have some engineering work designed. Election, there is an election this year, so we put in the appropriate amount for it. Well, not this year, but this fiscal year of 2025. Records management is kind of the same. We kept it the same. We don't really need to change anything. We may need to archive our social media, according to current state regulations, actually federal regulations. So we left that in there. We've never used it all in the past, but Public Works, personal services, that is half of Keith's salary, correct?
Yes.
And then contractual is 1,200, which is basically supplies for DPW, and Keith supplies if he needs to replace a computer or something to that effect, we just keep that in there. And if he does, I think it was actually $800 for a computer instead of 12,
Yeah.
isn't that right?
For laptop, yeah.
Yeah. Central garage, equipment and contractual. Help me out here why we don't have anything in 23, 24? Or did we just not need anything?
I don't think we needed anything, but I can tell you what we're, unless you know, what we're allowing this year in central garage equipment for 35,000.
I feel like you told me and I
Yeah,
forget.
that's the list that John.
That's the list.
Oh, that's the list of equipment that needs to be replaced, yeah. Tools.
Accessory items for like the Bobcats, sweeper heads. We need some new, slide in, sander units, for the small dump trucks. Those items are what they're in that 35,000.
Yeah.
I have construction inventory and materials. I don't have that as John's list, Keith.
Yeah, no, this is construction inventory and materials.
I
No,
don't-
this was for the planters, the concrete precast
Yes,
boxes. We're looking to do the tree planting replacements for the
Okay.
trees that have not been replaced or the trees that have died.
I have John's.
And that's precast concrete.
Yeah.
Before,
Not
maybe?
the other ones that are poured.
Correct.
It's under 511.
By the way, I've
5110.
been checking those out. I actually sat on one and read the paper.
It's comfortable, isn't
It's not- They look nice. You look down there and the new trees in there, they look really nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're,
The three of them in a row.
the highest one is closest to the visitor center. Yeah,
It's got the most sun down there.
Mhm.
yeah,
That's why I
this
said-
was.
it is a nice, and I like, well, I like that moving
The
forward
height.
for our-
That was.
As
long as the
that
plows
is
don't hit it, bang it up.
664.
So far, we've been
And
lucky.
skateboarders stay off.
Yeah.
John's
They might have, but in looking at it, it wasn't, it was ice that looked like, made it look like it was broken. I looked at it again since the thaw and it's in good shape. It didn't.
This is John Sheet.
So this under
Part
central
of
garage
51.
equipment and contractual is
Okay.
for.
Good for
concrete
you.
and
Okay, I got it.
That's what we're saying
Okay.
that money is going.
The
towards.
35,000, the 49 is, that's our gas bill, our fuel, our, the diesel, gasoline, electricity at the DPW.
Buildings.
Buildings,
Well, buildings. is
buildings is separate.
Oh.
That's under buildings contractual, but central garage is
Hmm.
what we need. The
National
oil.
Grid, phone,
Right.
contractual, fuel for the town, vehicle repair.
Central storeroom is basically toilet paper, napkins, paper towels, all of the
The stuff we have to keep.
stuff we have
separate,
to
but-
keep in Shepherd Park and the visitor center bathrooms.
That. But we've only spent 4,000 on that.
No.
Or what's that?
So
This
that's
is
a-
as of December,
Yeah, this is. as of
actuals to
this-
December.
And
so-
what happens is, right, within the next month, I'll be placing a large order to start the year out. I mean, like 10 cases of toilet paper, and that's where the big spend, generally it's like $8,000 or something like that to start the year off.
So we're not seeing
the
that yet.
parks.
No, yeah, because when you look at the top, it says actuals to
It
December.
will be taken.
So it's difficult. We have to pull actuals every month and it's kind of impossible for Danae to do while she's preparing a budget.
Well, typically you do a 6 months.
6
so-
months, yeah, that's half of our budget, so.
Right.
So special items is unallocated insurance. That's our insurance policies, municipal dues, which are very few, but we keep it in there. Consultants and appraisals. We dropped that because we're nearing the end of our consulting fees with municipal solutions. We have the the groundwork to establish a sewer rate once we find out if we're gonna get the funding that we need to update or upgrade the septic receiving station. So that'll make a huge difference in our revenues, hence can't really establish a sewer rate when our revenues are not where they're supposed to be.
Is this where you would put in funding for the comprehensive plan? Because that was.
That is in planning.
Planning.
Yeah, we got a new line for that, which never existed in the past.
Okay.
Or it existed, it just,
Wasn't
the former administration would not let any funds come out of it. Whereas we've changed our stance on that. We're not purchasing any lands, we're not anticipating any judgments or claims. Taxes on property is what it is. We lowered that a little bit. If you look at 22, 23, when we got hit with a huge school tax on our wastewater treatment plant. It was due to a misassessment. We're having that reassessed now. It was assessed at 19 million. It's not worth 19 million because it only has one use, and it's been gone back and forth with Lori, the town assessor. And she's asked for extra help, so it's gonna come in around 7 million. So our school taxes are dramatically going to decrease, or have dramatically decreased on a pilot program that we worked out, if you wanna call it that. But it's gonna be much lower. We do have some county parcels or county taxes that we pay, and I'm working with the new county fiscal administrator to have them deemed exempt. I've reached out. The person that took over from Mr. Swan is new, and so I'm just giving them some time before I can negotiate with them as to why we're paying any county tax. I thought it was town, but Lori said, no, we don't charge you guys any tax. So the county is charging us on some parcels. And it might be a water tank or something like that. And in the town doesn't charge us tax, but the county does. So I'm gonna look to get that exempt. So that would drop down hopefully next year to like 24,000, which is what we pay in school taxes for the wastewater treatment plant. That would be the only one. Peace officers and contractual, I eliminated that 30,000 that we put every year in for the sheriff. Any overtime, we would ask him for a bill. The prior sheriff would send us a bill. Jim has never sent us a bill. And being that we're going to be housing them, that extra protection will go away. Well, I mean, it won't go away. The cost of the extra protection will go away. So when they take, and they're looking to get in there pretty soon, to have a substation created here, and we'll have, 4 assigned officers just to the village. They'll be here all the time. We'll see them enough. We'll know their names. There'll be just 4 dedicated officers to here. The reason they want that is because when they're here in the village, they have to leave the village to use the bathroom or to have a break and eat a sandwich, or, maybe they spill coffee on their shirt. They got to change their shirt. They're never going to hold anyone here. The only thing they will do is interrogate someone and then bring them to the county. But they do need a bathroom and an eye wash station, which, I believe the county is going to fund that. We will need a pump up toilet for down here.
I was gonna ask if they have
Yeah.
access to the whole building or just the.
Just
downstairs?
see the opening there by the hand sanitizer? That will be a new set of double doors, keeping them completely separate from us. So if we're having a meeting and they have to arrest someone and bring them in,
Mhm.
then we're not gonna be
Okay. But
disturbed.
they don't need to go upstairs.
They don't, no,
be
they
able
won't
to
have
go
access
upstairs.
to it. They will not have access to it. They will have a key to the downstairs door.
So are we paying for the modifications to this
I
area?
don't believe we are. I believe they have it in their in the county budget to do that. We do have to figure out exactly what we have to do. So we have to get with the county to see what kind of code we have to apply to. We have to do fire separation. All of those questions have to be answered, but we're on a roll now with, I spoke with Kevin Garrity and the county administrator, John Taflin, and they both said to Jim and me, you guys figure it out. Just do whatever you want to do. We're on board with a village substation. Get going on it. So Jim and I are gonna reconvene second week of April and get started on that.
So this, you go.
So it's a processing center.
Yeah, basically, they need a place to, they need a place to come and have a
Yeah,
sandwich
yeah.
and to have their break, and we got a nice picnic table outside. They could come here and do that, use the bathroom, Before
They
that,
grow
they,
some vegetables. if
bef-
they want.
they
Join the
could.
community garden.
Before that, if they were fortunate enough to have a key to the firehouse, like the little button that gets you in, then they would go there. But it's not right. It's not their, it's the fire companies, it's not the counties.
And they could do more with less now, because I know that even if you, the rest thing, when they had to bring them down to the exit 20.
Yeah.
Process them, then drive all the way back here. In that time, you might lose an hour of a sheriff on the road because if someone decided, get drunk and throw trash on the ground.
They lose 45 minutes to an hour if they have to use the bathroom and go to the county for that, The time to get in and out of there. So it's a good thing. These are all good things.
So the contractual before was for overtime.
That was usually what the former mayor organized with the former sheriff. So we have a new sheriff into his second term. He never wanted any money to exchange hands, Jim LaFar, our current sheriff.
So you're saying that he will never send us a bill
No.
for any police services?
Absolutely not. I have his word. And all that extra time in Americade, car show, he said that, no, that's part of the job. And
That was my question, so events are covered.
events are covered. Traffic control, contractual would be, I'm thinking, is that the red light that we, or is that the county, or I mean, the state?
Portable,
Yeah,
portable.
For,
traffic control. A
Crosswalk.
It's
3310.
the flashing crosswalk.
Oh, the flashing crosswalks, okay.
equipment wise.
wait a minute.
No, that's not right.
No,
That's somewhere else.
that's below that.
That's in on-street parking.
Our traffic control is our cones, barricades,
Okay,
those types of items. That's why we have those relatively small amount in there. And we did up it up, or bring it up a little bit from last year. But that's code is just for that.
yeah. Oh, any of those that need to be replaced, I would recommend we try to do that out of this budget.
We have the money now.
Yeah, we
Yes,
have the money
right.
now for
Yeah,
before
and
June
I
first.
talked to John, because I would assume he'd be the one to order them. We want to monogram them because
Okay.
our stuff comes up missing like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I'd like to go, it's a couple bucks.
VOLG or something like that.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
It's a couple bucks.
Yeah,
extra,
LGB.
So.
Okay.
Just so, that's what I'd like to see happen.
All right, let's, we'll put a pin in that and tie off on that later, Keith, so we can
Yep.
find out what John needs and make sure he gets it. On-street parking, personal services is our meter enforcement equipment. We have money in there for, well, we've taken the crosswalks out of this budget, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so we're not taking them out.
We're taking the meters
the-
and the flashing lights.
That of this budget, this current,
Yes.
our current budget, so
So that,
that doesn't come out of there, so the 50,000 might be a little high.
No, I have equipment, 21,000 for pay and displays and 15,000 for flashing
That's
crosswalk.
coming out of this year's budget.
that's coming out of the 41,000 that's there in
In
inventory. right now.
existing in that sheet.
Okay, so the 50,000, nothing?
We don't really have any plans and
I thought it was for the 5 new pay and display every year.
we,
I have a suggestion, yeah, you're paying this.
we are
But the
actually,
ones with the keyboard, if you can do it.
the IPS ones are the new ones and they're much easier to see. I don't know if they have a keyboard though,
They,
you know?
the, MS ones, or the one, the series that we have, they don't have a TV.
Okay,
The keyboards are nice. I don't, the ones I've seen people in the village trying to use the ones we have now, the sun's wrong. Plus they're kind of low to the ground unless you're short, but the keyboards are very nice.
well, we'll see what the cost is and we'll look into it. I don't have a problem. I do want to stick with IPS.
We
Because
standardized to them.
we standardized, yeah, well, so we have the papers and we have the batteries that need to be
Yeah.
replaced and all of that.
Yeah.
We'll look into it, but they are 7,000 a piece as it stands now. The
Right.
ones with the keyboard might be 10.
Wow.
So you
Well, you know, we eventually gonna get away from the coin operated.
We are not taking coins on any of the new ones we buy.
Like the ones in front of my house, the old school.
That's why we
Well-
put 5 in every year.
That's, yeah, but we have to replace the existing ones that we bought years ago, which are being phased out. But we also are increasing. The school's a tough zone, but we are looking to see like where we can put, because they get full, you know? And
Oh,
then
yeah.
somebody's got to get out there and empty them and
Well, people struggle with digging for coins, you know.
Yeah,
I
the
see it all
three-
time.
the three that I'm purchasing out of this current budget, 23-24, 2 will go on Amherst Street by the bakery, those, by the bakery and by Telegraph, but you know, probably this side.
Mhm.
Those fill up, like Dan has to go out and empty them, you know, sometimes twice a weekend,
Mhm.
in the summer. So that by not taking coins and forcing the use of the
Yeah.
app, also the app has text to park. So if you don't want to download the app, you can text to park and enter your pay
Yeah.
information that way,
yeah,
which
they
is
all-
new.
yeah.
You and I discussed
Yeah.
that. But yeah, so then the other 5 would be potentially for Ottawa Street by the school.
Yeah, whatever, eventually those dinosaurs.
They
Gotta
they
go.
have to go away. Yeah.
Well,
And I know that's a difficult thing because there's no sidewalk in front of my house, so you have to stand on the lawn to do it. I guess.
The IPS does have a retrofit, card unit that fits our current Duncan, base unit that we could, that's an adaptation, with credit card. No coin, just credit cards, strictly credit card. And the opportunity to have the Park Mobile,
Right.
slap on it. So
Or the single,
yeah, the single space meters that are there now.
yeah,
That take coin, we can change those out. I can get a cost of those, maybe with
Oh.
a budget.
Just a strap-on thing, kind of like.
It actually, you take the top off and it
Fix
fits
up.
inside the Duncan barrel,
Uh,
and they're designed for that reason. And we could budget so many a year.
but the locations where, like
Works-
you say,
works.
there's no curb
Yeah.
or there's no sidewalk to put a pay and display unit
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
You don't want them traipsing on your
Oh, so
yard.
it's like a single credit card operated thing.
Correct.
I've
So-
seen them
yeah.
in communities where it's just the meter head and it's got a little
Yeah.
credit
And
card
it's,
swipe.
no coin, nothing else, just credit card.
How does that? Each one has to have a transmitter in it?
I think they're integrated into the unit. becomes-
So each one has to have a cell
They,
phone?
they repeat to each other and there's
Oh,
one,
put one,
one,
buddy up, you know,
yeah.
kind of like?
there's one location that has a, you know,
that'd be
what you
cool.
call a cell phone in
Yeah,
it.
correct.
That's a cheap way out of there.
Well, if it's piece by piece, when you're replacing 50 of them, it's not cheap. It's
Yeah.
cheaper to go to the thing of, you
Pay
know,
and display.
the potential for adding some sidewalk space or even putting it on, like, say, not necessarily your lawn in the village right away, facing the street, but not in a parking spot, you
Well,
know?
like the mayor's property, you can't put a sidewalk there because of those hemlocks.
Right.
In mine, you got that big thing, it doesn't make sense to put a sidewalk.
Right,
there
but if
either.
you did, if you did put a pay and display, like say on your corner there where I pick up my kids,
Yeah.
it would be before the parking space starts and
Yeah.
from the curb, somewhere in there, it would likely be that, and then two on the other side of the street where there is a sidewalk.
And I suppose you don't want people crossing the street to use a pay and display.
No,
No.
No.
Okay.
Hey, Mayor, I just have a question, 'cause I know it's gonna be asked. So when we're replacing, we're literally replacing existing, correct? We're not putting up, creating new.
we're not creating new spots.
That's the big question. I'm gonna get asked already now when they see people working on meters. You're putting up new meters everywhere?
No.
So to be clear, this is just replacing, we're taking antiquated equipment, upgrading.
Mhm.
Less fuss, less muss.
More
for
money.
Yeah,
More money.
But we're not adding, we're not extending.
We're not extending any
There
parking
is.
space. The only place we extended parking spaces is Lake Avenue. And there was already paid parking there. We just created more.
Okay.
And you took those meters that were on, was it McGillis? You took those out and they never came back. Remember they popped up?
Yeah, those are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not up at the top of McGillis.
Right.
Keith and I have had that length discussions about that.
By the gauges of the Christie.
Wait, yeah, those are not coming
Brick
back.
gauge,
They're just painted.
Yeah.
The spots are
They just
painted.
Popped in. Oh, I don't know how to.
No, I would be in favor of painting spots without meters, just so people don't park like
Oh, yeah.
jerks.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they need, sometimes people need guidance and they need those T-bars to not park, like in front of my house, you could fit 3 cars. When there's big weekends, I get people parking in front of my house, but half the time it's 2. And somebody parked, you know,
Yeah.
10 feet from the curb and they really could have,
Well, if we did do that, we should put a little signage, not metered.
Yeah,
parking,
correct.
Something along those lines, so it doesn't confuse people.
right,
That might not be a bad idea, cause I have a, fire hydrant in front of my house.
and people park in front of
Park
it.
in front of the
Yeah.
fire hydrant. all the
Well,
time,
the
even though
sidewalk's
there's
also painted yellow, but, you know, that's
Yeah.
just plain
We will
general.
deputize you as an
that-
traffic
One time,
officer.
They were like, do you think I can park in front of this? I was like, no.
No.
It's a fire hydrant.
That's why they did the paint line on.
But Tim will train you up on
At your own
the
risk, right?
You can walk around, John, and you're welcome to do it as well. You can walk around and issue tickets too.
Yeah.
All right,
Make
so-
friends that way.
Parking, I think we're in pretty good shape. Contractual is our fees that we pay.
And the personal services are people.
That's the meter enforcement officers.
So we're bringing that down. Cause it looks like the budget for 2023-2024 was 75.
75.
Now we're at 40.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we're just doing less.
It's,
Well, 'cause-
it's right here, Allison, on your sheet.
Oh, this is this.
Yeah. I think they went to 5 meter collectors
So we're just gonna-
Makes sense, because they got a rotation.
at 17 an hour.
Yeah, we didn't
Yeah,
spend that
for
much
20
last year. I
hours.
don't know why it
Okay,
was
so
budgeted,
It was
but
just so high last year.
it was just,
Yeah,
Okay.
don't know why.
yeah, I don't know why.
I didn't do it.
We might have had more people working 2 years prior.
Could have.
Are we definitely doing the courtesy warning?
Yeah, well, we're gonna discuss that at our annual organization meeting, but yes, I wanted to do that midweek only, not weekends. Is a courtesy warning like we used to do.
We have enough of the slips
We got enough for at least 1 year,
till they run out.
yeah. But
Courtesy
so like
warning.
I'm thinking business hours midweek and stopping at like 5 or 6 o'clock at night when people start going to dinner and such, you know, midweek. If they're overtime parking, they get a warning. Basically, the next time somebody comes around, they give them a ticket.
Yeah.
Like we used to do. I think it's a nicer look.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's both.
Prevalent, that, I mean, 'cause I would assume the Park Mobile app would have.
On street parking
It does,
is
but
30.
it's just more of a nice, you know, we used to get a lot of letters saying, thank you for the warning. I wish, you know, more communities did this. And it's only midweek. It's only like Monday to Thursday
Yeah,
from like 9 to whatever.
PR.
so that's.
PR.
It's a PR thing.
This should
Yeah.
say.
And I also had, John actually had an idea of, we could talk about this in the annual meeting, but the meter enforcement officers, would maybe like a button, like ask me anything.
Oh,
And there'd be more of an ambassador to
yeah.
to the public.
I brought that up last year, but like the Riddler, you know what the question were?
Yeah.
All right, so fire
See,
department
somebody remember.
ambassador, yeah.
It takes the sting out of a parking meter attendant when you call them ambassadors.
Yeah.
It takes the sting. out
Meter
of it,
enforcement
not so-
officer, meter
Yeah.
enforcement ambassador.
Right, I would do the job if I was, you know, talking to people and giving them directions and information and suggestions instead of just like, okay, man, I got you.
Yeah. right.
So fire
Anyway.
department, we kept their budget the same. They were a bit late to turn in their sheets as far as what equipment they wanted, but when they did, it's actually less. I think it's 64,000, but we left it the same as last year, just in case something comes up. They're always needing hoses or turnout gear or something to that effect. I think they might need a washing machine, so as far as equipment goes, we'll have that extra 10,000 or so in there. They didn't spend nearly what they had. We run into that a lot. But it's not, the year's not over yet too, so.
I think that Brandon put in a few purchase, or quite a few
Yeah.
purchase
Just recently,
orders
yeah.
just recently.
yesterday and a few other
We're
days.
fixing up, we have several fire trucks that are having a lot of repairs done to them.
So they're gonna end
And
up
any
using
kind
that.
of time you touch a fire truck, it's thousands.
So code enforcement, personal services, I gave Jim a bump up of about $1,000 a year in pay. Another example of an employee that goes above and beyond. As you know, most of our employees, I gotta say, when we get to that discussion, we have really good people. And that said, let's move on. Health registrar, that's $350 a year. Vital statistics, right? Is that?
Mhm.
Yeah. So transportation and street maintenance, this is a big one. This is the DPW employees. If we want to scale over to 5110.1 on the accompanying sheets, you can see the pay raises that have been given. They're not unmerited. They're all earned. Most people are getting $1.25, $1.50 an hour. Some people are only getting $1. They've been here a very short period of time. So to give them more than that is difficult. Some of the guys that have been here a very long time, we've raised up $1.50 because we're hiring at a higher rate now. So guys that got hired at, I don't know, probably if it was 20 years ago, it was $12 an hour, to be honest with you. They're, you know, over the years have gotten their raises, but you get somebody coming in, it's, you don't want to slap them in the face by hiring somebody at $21 an hour. And they are only making 25 and they got 20 years senior experience to them. So we've increased, like Dale, Eric, Billy. Who else?
Dan,
Dan, yeah, Dan's been here, gotta be 6 years now, 7. John Helms, another employee that is exemplary, goes above and beyond, picks up the phone whenever you call him. We had Keith and I were out to dinner with a club we belong to and it started to snow and I got a call from somebody saying the hill on my road was slippery. I called John Helms, he picked up the phone, he's like, I'm on it. So no rain or shine, day or night, that guy's there. So he deserves the extra $2 an hour.
What's the gentleman that you usually have working the weekends with the garbage in the morning? He used to have long hair, cut it really short.
John, Pettit.
John Pettit,
He retired.
he retired.
Did he really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he retired this past summer.
How
He wasn't
often,
here that long, was he?
8 years.
Really?
He had years in somewhere else though. so-
Yeah, he had
Yeah,
in
yeah,
New York
he
City.
retired.
That's too bad. He was.
He was a great employee,
He
but
was-
he has
yeah.
to take care of his mother-in-law who is.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, I'm talking about
basically
ambassador,
incapacitated.
employee ambassador. He was really,
He
really.
was a good guy. He really is. And I told him he can come back anytime.
And I was always appreciative of anything you did for him, so it was nice to.
Johnny Walker.
You had a question?
how often are we going into overtime with the DPW?
Overtime did not get touched this year.
Um,
I think maybe a couple hours here and there for
Okay.
like events or something
Well,
to that effect.
we didn't have a winter.
We didn't have a winter, so
So you can't
normally,
really Gauge it from this year.
Yeah.
you know.
but we budget we
So
budget
that's usually when we
25,000
go.
for
Yeah.
overtime.
I saw it.
And
And we
usually a
cut-
lot of,
None of it.
and usually a lot of that overtime that we see that's on the events are put into the event pay, right?
Well.
Like the Mary Kay closing up.
They pay
streets.
us for that, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of that extra overtime is compensated through the special events that
Yeah.
are being held. If they have to come in to close the streets off or something like that.
And we plan for it too, because like we'll send somebody home on a Tuesday
Yeah.
if we know that we're gonna need them on a Saturday or
Yeah,
Sunday.
Okay.
maybe What we can.
Okay.
So, yeah.
John and Keith are pretty good with that as far as,
Mm-hmm.
when we need somebody, knowing ahead of time. Emergencies are all, yeah, that is what it is. So then that covers, DPW employees as well as overtime. Equipment, we are not buying a vehicle this year. We are waiting for one, but that's coming out of the last year's budget. Contractual, that is, again, is what it is. We're gonna be a little more conservative this year. We're not buying as much salt. Because we have surplus from last year and we have to buy a certain amount, we got nowhere to put it. So I don't think, and I think mid-season, if we have to buy it, it's gonna cost maybe a shade more than it is to store it and house it all year.
Yeah.
Our salt shed can only hold so much and we didn't use any, so.
Right.
That's why the decrease in that snow removal, personal services, that's more
Overtime.
overtime
Overtime and salt. so.
if we need to. That's sort of a cushion. Which we did not use any of it.
Yeah.
Contractual would be maintenance of the street sweeper and the snow plows. Plow maintenance, correct, Keith?
Yes, yep.
Street lighting, that is what it is, really. That's the electricity required to run our streetlights, which is ever so decreasing because we've completed our changeover. We expect to complete Beach Road hopefully this year of changing out from the high pressure sodiums to the LEDs. That'll save us a lot more money. It saved us a bunch of money over the years so far, when we did it 3 years ago now. Sidewalks put more money in there for tree planting. We only had 15,000 of which we used 5 as of December. Put extra in there for between the repairs of broken or sunken sidewalks and we rat hold a little extra money in there for extra trees or any kind of damages that need to be repaired after winter.
I don't know if this would fall under sidewalks or not, but I noticed those cigarette containers or acceptors or whatever that I think I recommended like 10 years ago. They're looking pretty beat up.
They are,
You know, the ones that are just, they're like
with the
a brush-
ball of sand in the bottom.
No, they're like a brushed chrome,
Yeah.
brushed,
like a cylinder.
and they have a hose clamp, the hose clamp to the post.
Oh, okay, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
they just have a little lid on them. They probably were $10. I don't know what they are now, but
Yeah.
they're not that expensive, but they're looking pretty
Yeah.
beat up, and there's probably something that looks better out there now for the same amount of money or less.
Yeah.
Just look, check it out. They're all strapped to the lamp posts.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know now what you're talking about. I thought you meant those bulbs that are filled with sand that people put out.
No.
But yeah, no, we can look into that.
Yeah.
If you have a suggestion,
I think I picked them out of a catalog 10 years ago,
Mhm.
and they probably still have the catalog.
we got all kinds of catalogs
Yeah,
upstairs. I'll give you
right.
one to take. I'll look through
I
it
mean,
too.
they're-
But yeah, that's a good
It'd
suggestion.
be probably a minor.
Well, anything to keep the butts off the sidewalk.
Yeah, I noticed
No.
no cigarettes on the sidewalk. This
More
time of year
vaping.
especially.
Yeah. Bus operation, that is, contractual with, CDTA, used to be Greater Glens Falls Transit. That's our contribution to, their operations. Every community does it, that the buses serve, so. Put in for a couple hundred extra. I'm not sure, we haven't gotten
Yeah,
the bill from them yet for this year.
I've asked them for a new contract when they're gonna get it to me and I haven't seen it.
I haven't either.
Yeah, so the 10,000 is sort of a placeholder. We don't know that it's going to increase, but we don't know that it's not. Off-street parking, equipment and contractual, contractual being our contracts with Quirks and the county. There's parking for Beach Road. I do have a new lot in here under 46. The Tariq Parking, that is the owner of the former McDonald's. We're in the process of getting bids to lease, or we're in the process of finalizing a lease with Mohammed to lease the property, because otherwise we can't do any repairs. He can't afford to do any repairs. It's an eyesore. So if we lease it from him, we can make any repairs, but contractually, the first 2 years while we recoup our investment, and I'll get to that, I'm going to likely fund half of it out of occupancy tax, what we have remaining from this year. We have a quote from Ruben Ellsworth. We need 2 more quotes in order to facilitate the construction of a parking lot there. That could bring, when we get to revenues, I think it could bring as much as James Street, if not more, because I'm looking at $3 an hour there. It's downtown prime parking. I think we could make up to 75,000 a year. I put 40 in the budget just for giggles. But I put 15 in because that's what I'm proposing paying them the first 2 years, a flat rate, and then 50-50. Like Quirks were 70-30, his favor. I don't see that that's great for us. We're doing all the work. We did the improvements. We're painting the lines. We're buying the pay and display. We're enforcing the time. 50-50 is fair. And Mohammed is fine with that too in our cursory discussions. I have a draft lease. Then I have to just fill in the first 2 years and then get a length of time. So it's either a 10-year with 2 5-year renewals, which would get us 20 years there. So if we're going to be making $100,000 in improvements, but then turning around and making $40,000 a year on it, I think we're going to be in good shape. Our ROI is returned to us in 2 years.
That's it, $2 an hour or $3?
$3.
$3
$3 an hour. I think it can make like 75,000-80,000 a year
on that lot.
on that lot, 28 spaces.
And James Street, you're talking $3 an hour too?
No,
No.
no. James Street, I see $60,000 to $65,000 a year, but we do a lot of permit parking there. So it doesn't really cut into the bottom line. A lot of people still don't know that James Street parking lot exists.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times if you want to look for a parking spot and you can't find one, there's one there. Jose, I think you purchased some for your employees.
Yeah. It's a
So-
little bit above grade. It's hard to look into the back of the lot for
Mhm.
people just, scanning for parking spaces.
But this will be right downtown, fresh pavement, nice angled directional parking. You can only go in one way and out the other. And I want to pretty it up with the fence I took down from Shepherd Park.
But I think Park Mobile has the capability so you can find empty spots.
They do if people enter the spot number. We'd have to number each spot. And
Okay.
so somebody we'd have to change the system a little bit.
I know there's an upgrade or there's more work to be done to get that feature, but.
There is, you'd have to number the spots
Okay.
individually, but like it'd be like A12, 13, 14, 15, in a line. We could do that. We have not looked into doing that,
Yeah.
but I know it exists. So that is, let's see,
What are we paying for on each of these lots? Just in what's in the budget? Like, what do we pay for? Like parking at Court Lot, 25,000, what do we?
We
give
don't
them
pay
a
any-
we give them a
Oh, So
percentage.
that's this is all the percentage.
This is the
of
percentage of expected revenues that
Okay.
we're going to be giving them. And I think it's a little high, but it's safe, just
But
in
it
case
was-
we have to.
But when we
do
did
better
it,
than
we were
expected.
getting, he could have manned it himself
Yeah.
and got all the money. But over doing.
His
the
tickets
Senate,
wouldn't
someone
hold up in
walk
court,
around,
but
You know, they would have probably had to ban someone there or buy their own stuff.
they would have to buy their own
All we
pay
had to do
display,
is send
which
someone
he
through
threatens to
there.
do every year.
Yeah. But 30%, instead of walking someone through there to write a ticket if they need to, it was found money.
Mhm.
That's why we agreed to that percentage.
Economic assisted student miscellaneous. So we broke out two things. Student Connection and Teen Center used to be in the same budget. They are not one and the same. They are completely different. The Student Connection is for the J1. It's a committee that we have meetings on. Jose's been a part of some of them for making sure that the J1 students are not being taken advantage of. It's a committee made up of volunteers that we have been funding a little bit here and a little bit there. Other communities have given us money for it. Bolton Landing is one of them. We just all basically sit down, find a way. I hold meetings with them twice a year. We have dinners, which are donated usually by, held at a church, donated by locally at Jose donated one last year from Giuseppe's. Adirondack Brew Pub usually feeds them. It's a one or two meals a year. It doesn't cost us anything, but we like to have a budget in case we put on a field trip. Sometimes in the past, we've gone to Niagara Falls, we've gone to Boston, and it's usually volunteer based. All the costs associated with it is renting a bus. And most of the time, if the students pay, they cut half the bus down. So it's nice for them to do that in a safe environment with quote unquote chaperones. They are adults after all, or they wouldn't be traveling to another country and working. But it's a nice thing. And a lot of times they've been taken advantage of by the housing. As you all know, they, try to stack them in like cordwood, and this group really just facilitates a safe environment for them and a nice experience in America. And the Teen Center, which is completely different, is funded half by the town. And we will get half of this back in the revenues from the town. We split that. It's held at the senior center. Well, it used to be called the senior center. Now it's the community center. It's a place for kids to go after school when maybe it's better than home, or they're not alone. And there's about 12 to 15. It goes up and down as the years go on, and they're a good group of kids, and they have a couple of video gaming systems there. They have some activities. They learn to cook there. Like I said, sometimes that place is better than their home.
The
And
woman that has been doing it is still there.
Jen
Yeah,
DeLolio,
she does
yep,
great
she's
job.
a
She
school.
writes a nice reporting.
Yeah,
that's for
yeah,
sure.
she does a nice report. She does a great job. I'm gonna try to have a meeting with her the Monday of our annual meeting, if I can squeeze it in ahead of time for our semi-annual meeting there, but she's been fantastic. She's never asked us for anything or a raise. But the reason I separated them is because they got donations, that Jeans Week thing that the teachers did. If they didn't have their own account, which we're setting up, that money would be forced to go into the general fund.
Right.
At the end of the year, if it's not spent on the food and the stuff that they do. So we're getting them their own account. Therefore, we had to split them out. So that's my spiel on that. And this is gonna take a very long time, guys. Octax funds, we're expecting 335,000. It'd probably be more than that. We do not have to contribute to the town and village joint fund because the county allotted 150,000 to the joint town and village, and we have yet to set up a meeting for that. We have a meeting scheduled for Monday. Monday the 18th, before our monthly meeting, just to discuss what we're gonna do with the joint. I have some ideas as to how we could use these funds as a community rather than let's fund events by it. There are people that have applied for events, but we want to take the larger portion of the money and put it to things that a town and village are doing together or could do together, like our fireworks. Why should we put all of our full cost of the fireworks into our octax when the town benefits just as much as we do? So I'm proposing to them either a split of 36,000 from the joint, 18 from the town and 18 from the village. Or 24, because it's a $72,000 total with including New Year's Eve fireworks. They're all receptive to that. So that's just one of the things I wanted to bring up as far as what's been going on behind the scenes as far as that goes. So that's something out of our control, but we're pretty sure I checked in before February with the county and they're slated to make a little bit more than they did last year. So we're banking on what we got last year and we're gonna receive that. And the $35,000 is to our special events director, of which we get 20 back from the town and county. Which is something that may need to be discussed based on recent events.
Yeah.
And I've been working in his place on everything so that nothing skips a beat. Like I'm doing Americade this year. I did the St. Patrick's Day parade just to make sure I understand what it is to be a special event director. And Debonair has been getting up to speed since August when she started doing it. So she's gotten up to speed quite quickly and it's very good. She's handling a lot of the important things that Denise did prior.
Well, that was the proposal when the position was created, that you would shadow
Mhm.
your predecessor and learn the ropes.
Yeah, and I have been.
And
I'm
you're
actually
forced into it.
forced into it now for a little more than before, but yeah.
Cleaned up that whole mess with Vinny and the whatever
Farmers
yeah,
market.
farmer's market. Thank
Farmers
you.
market, yeah. Yes.
And other things too.
Yeah, thank you, yeah. But that's the hands-on position, so. Moving on to culture. Rec center. Oh, rec center, yeah, I did budget more money, both for personal services. Gene has proven to be one heck of an employee. And I think it's on 70/20.1. I gave him $250 an hour raise. I mean, the guy does everything. I mean, he got hired to cut grass, but he does electrical, he does plumbing, he does contracting. He's fixing up the rec center like you wouldn't believe, putting flooring in for the bathrooms that just never was put in, making the place a place that you can serve food out of. Right now, it's not, it wasn't. And it will be this year. And he's gonna power wash the dugouts to get them prepped. I'm planning a volunteer day with Rotary and the Youth Commission organization to have a cleanup and paint and stain the dugouts, which need it. It's been
I painted that. back
originally, I remember that, yeah,
After I lost the coin toss, I was
Yeah,
up there.
you were up there
painting it
working.
With Ron.
yeah.
Driving the
They haven't been
tractor.
painted since then, John.
Oh, I better get back up there. Let me know. I might come up there and.
I
throw
would
some
love
sticker
that,
on.
yeah, okay.
And so part of it
I
is you're
might like it.
budgeting
I'll love it.
part-time person up there.
Yes, a part-time person, you see that under Eugene.
Yeah, I mean, what's the thought, like the part-time person versus the full-time person up there? Cause I feel like during the summer, he's told me he can only.
Well, it's not a part-time, it's full-time seasonal position. So
Okay.
they'd be working full-time seasonal. In the off-season, we have other employees that are already full-time employees that
Okay.
would go up, have been going up and helping him.
So our thought is during the summertime, he's gonna have a whole nother person.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And we also budgeted for in equipment. We budgeted for side-by-side, like a gator
So he could get
that he,
into the,
just think he can drive around the fields with a tractor or a pickup truck. It's too big.
but he can get into the,
Into the trails too.
trails.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's another thing. We have a big volunteer group that wants to clean up the trails and assist with making that better up there. That's with some private people and Adirondack Mountain Club. So news to be determined on that once the weather broken, but once we're for sure into April, then we'll have a little more to go on that. Parks, let's see, so Wood Park Personal Services, we gave Dave Goodsell $1 an hour raise. He's a part-time or a seasonal employee there. Equipment, we put in 10,000 for in case he needs a mower, a weed whacker, backpack blower, something to that effect. Contractual is kind of what it is. And what's the difference between 4 and 42, Danae?
42 is all Wood Park contractual. That is what we can bill the county on.
Okay,
The other contractual covers all of our parks.
okay. And that seems to be fine and in line. Marina and docks, contractual. We spent $722 as far as. Do we have anything we're looking to spend on that, or is that just a placeholder?
Yeah, we do have to get a few more of those bumpers that I'm not really sure what the cost of those are, but there's a couple of them that either disappeared or got destroyed.
Yeah.
In the last few years.
The fire extinguishers, we don't pay for, right? Those are donated,
We don't have them anymore.
because somebody would just take them out and spray them.
That's what happened on a regular basis. They were being thrown in the lake.
Savages.
Yeah, so that went with.
They were donated
Every
originally,
boat, by
though.
law, every boat's gotta have a fire extinguisher anyway. We have one, inside the pump station there at the Petro pump station. But again, every boat's gotta have a fire extinguisher anyway, so and it was just real detrimental to have those there. It didn't work. It didn't work. It worked
Didn't work
out
out.
until society changed it for us, that kind of.
Yeah. Societal changes.
Somebody looked up on that soda machine pretty good too down there.
Yeah.
Band concerts I removed from our general fund budget, and that is coming out of Octax now. Historian, I gave a marginal raise. I don't, she never asked for it, but I wanted to round it up to a nice number for her. Celebrations, also, I moved out of the general fund and put it into occupancy tax, which I believe it belongs. So all of the things like the band concerts, the Tuesdays, the tribute Tuesdays, the magical Mondays, the Fridays at the lake, all of that stuff was coming out of band concerts and celebrations. Now it's coming out of occupancy tax, and there's enough money in there to do it by decreasing the amount that we've spent on other things, in events and giving people money for things. So I made it work. Home and community zoning, that is Debonay's salary?
Where are we?
Home and community zoning? No, it's contractual. That's with Dan from the town, correct?
Yes, that's
Dan's
Dan's
salary.
contractual.
That's what we paid Dan Baruch.
That's under 80,
Yeah,
10.
80-10.
It's Dan.
Yeah, so planning personal services, 700 is the meetings that Debonay attends. She gets compensated for them, and then the contractual. What do we have, 90?
It's a DRI.
Oh, the DRI planning.
Is it DRI or is it the?
It's DRI and comp, I
Comp
think.
plan.
Comp plan. There's our comp plan that Dan put in for.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, it was super high, but I
it's
forgot about
comp
that.
plan and DRI.
Comp plan and DRI, yes, yeah, we have a company that we'll get that money back, whatever we paid that company that is going to assist us. They're appointed by the state, so we don't have a say in them. They're from New York, so. I don't know, how that's gonna work, but
New York City.
New York City, I think. But they've been doing it in the
New York
past.
City.
New York City.
Salsa.
Salsa commercial, yes, very good. Environmental control, that is our contribution to the Clean Boats, Clean Waters, boat inspection stations. We've been doing that. I think it's based on feet of shoreline. But we've been doing that every year for Asian clams. Sanitation administration, that is our super duper employee, Tim Shutt. I'm given him $2,000 a year raise. Wish I could give him more. He deserves it. It's Johnny on the spot, no matter when, and no matter what we need. And then we go into the sanitary sewer system, which is storm. Oh, no, that's not storm. That's the contractual being the 122.5. That is, where are we in that? To collection. Let me see.
We have add pumps,
Oh, the pumps. Do we want the
main
spare pump?
control panel.
Control panel, is that for the generator?
That'd be under your court.
Emergency bypass pumps, okay.
And then the contractual, of course, is the National Grid, the phone, the
No, that's
supplies.
the power. That's how much we spend in power up
The
there.
maintenance, that's just chemicals, you know, the
Mhm.
contractual is all of this miscellaneous stuff.
So personal services, if you want to go to 8130 as far as rates of pay. There is some notations needed. Andrew Callenbeck you'll see an uptick in his raise, as well as Tim Shutt Jr. They are both receiving licenses this year. And when they get a 1 or 2 light, a 1A or 2A, what is it?
Tim is getting a 3A.
3A.
And Andrew's getting the 2A.
Yeah, so they're
And CDL.
and his CDL. So they're becoming plant operators in their own right, and also getting a CDL gets another $1 an hour. So that's the explanation for the
You know,
seemingly big jump there, but they're earning it by doing the schooling and doing the courses required. It's another big one, but it is what we have to do. As far as the sewer treatment plant equipment, shouldn't need too much this year. There was that backup pump. Is that what pump 4? Isn't that what you
No, there's really no big expenditures this year at the treatment plant.
say that again?
There's really no.
You write that down and sign it?
Other than.
Yeah. So this is the big one. The big contractual one is our power, and
And it says, you know, as the plant's been operating, you know, we're starting to see, the annual, the things that we have to, certify like fire, fire protection and alarm systems and all that stuff. And some of the pumps aren't as durable as they should be. So it's quite a bit of cost, as well.
So you're saying you're getting to a point where you have a track record in place that you can probably start thinking about doing a sewer rate?
Yeah.
Building that last part.
I know you're gonna throw that in.
I'm reeling right in.
but I did reach out, and Beth Gillis is putting applications together for congressional discretionary spending, which is also used to be
Yeah.
considered pork money,
Yeah, for
to Chuck Schumer, Senator Gillibrand, and Congresswoman Stefanik, or Congresswoman Gillibrand and Congresswoman Stefanik, for funding for the septic receiving.
Senator Gillibrand.
Senator Gillibrand, yeah, they all have some monies that they can spend, so. Senator Schumer, Senator Gillibrand, and Congresswoman Stefanik.
Yeah, I think we are getting closer.
Yeah,
Hopefully in my lifetime, I mean.
once we get that septic receiving station, we will be a much more efficiently operating plant, and we can take more septic in. We don't have to turn anybody away. And it won't mess up our plant, because it'll be going in at an even rate. And since
Yeah.
biology gets really wonky when you dose it with a
Spike
whole
it.
4,000 gallons of sewage or septic.
Concentrated.
Yeah, when we can let it settle and balance and yeah.
Be the number 1 and the number 2.
Storm sewers, we have a little bit of work, not as much as we did last year, but we budgeted a lot last year because we had a storm drain in the parking lot, or near the parking lot of by Blaze Park and by the Shoreline, which is now the Lighthouse Grill.
Right, yeah.
We thought we ended up, our own men were able to fix that without incurring a huge expense or hiring a company.
Yeah, we had a little bit of money involved in as far as engineering and so on.
Mhm.
And then materials, but it worked out as good as we expected.
That's good when that works that way.
Refuse collection, as far as contractual goes, that's our tipping fees and what we pay the town to haul our dumpster. We're not gonna be able to get a garbage truck like I wanted to. Not this year. I'm still looking. We haven't found a solution. Keith, we looked at renting one or
Yeah,
leasing
it's
one.
huge,
It
Chris.
was $80,000.
8,200 a month.
Mm.
And it would cost more if you rented it for 6 months rather than a year.
Yes, correct, yeah.
So it's not there. I'm still, I haven't given up, but, we're not there yet. Can't get everything the first year. So I have to accept that. Street cleaning, that's, contractual. That is our brushes and, parts for and maintenance for the street sweeper, that little noisy street sweeper. Beautification, gave Judy a raise, set aside some more money for new tools and equipment for her, as well as another $10,000 in shade trees, which among the sidewalks, off-street parking, shade trees, we got a decent amount of money to replace a lot of the trees and improve our beautification this year, like I said I was gonna do.
Are we going forward with the gateway, agreement? with-
We are, and, Allison was there for that. We got it down to a manageable level for Judy. Basically, she doesn't have to do those side tree pits, one or two, but she doesn't have to do the
Median is what really-
the median is fine, and she's fine just doing that.
Okay.
She was overwhelmed last year with the tree pits and the side plantings that she never had to do in the past, and the town asked her that. I didn't catch it. It's my fault for not understanding what she did and didn't do. And she told me.
But the town is still asking for more information from us on that, right? Because
Mm,
they're trying, the last email from Dan saying they wanted to make sure that the amount of money spent was even both ways.
Yeah,
Is that all taken care of?
that's all
with
taken care
them?
of, yeah,
Okay,
it is.
so it's,
Okay, so employee benefits, retirement, it is what it is. We cannot change that. Fire, LoSAP is always what it is. Social Security, all of these in the A 25 to 64, that is it. The only one I will discuss is 64, which is health insurance buyout. We put in some money for that just in case we increase the buyout. Like, say you have a spouse that gets insurance elsewhere. And we would save money by paying you, say, 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 for a family plan to not take our insurance. It saves us $20,000. So if like, I don't want to call anybody out, but say someone has a spouse that works at a school and the school's buyout is $3,000. If our buyout was $3,500, obviously they would take our buyout and use their spouse's insurance. And that actually in the long run saves us about $22,000 to $24,000. It's an incentive. It keeps us down below 50. As long as we can stay below 50 people on insurance, we won't pay a super exorbitant amount.
Is that
As we all
5,800
know-
Gonna go that far though?
What's that?
Is 5,800 gonna
That's-
be enough?
That's just for that's what we currently pay out.
Oh, okay.
So we're keeping it at this, the 5,800 is kind of what we're paying out currently. We'll be looking into, once you guys decide what insurance we're gonna go with, which will be presented to you on Monday. Then we might decide if we can get people to sign up. If we can get just 2 people to opt out, 2 more people in addition, we'll be able to fund and increase the incentive buyout. While keeping it'll bring obviously what we pay out for insurance.
So
down.
A 9060
So it'll
will
kind
go
of, they'll
down
wash each other.
and A 9064 will go up. Do you follow me?
890. Well,
A
What we
9060
pay out
got
for
8.
regular insurance will
Right.
go down, but the buyout.
That'll
will
go-
increase.
yeah.
That'll
it's
it'll
still
go
gonna-
down more than
Oh, yeah,
the health insurance
Right.
buyout will go up.
yeah, right. It's
Yeah.
still gonna be a net win for the
Sure, and
For
we'll
the
end up,
general fund.
we'll end up in the fund balance,
Right.
putting some back in the fund balance at the end of the year. Debt service is what it is. Installment and purchase as our leases for our larger equipment, loader,
Vac truck
vac
and
truck, yeah.
backhoe.
Budgetary provisions is our reserves that we set aside. I threw an extra 15,000 in, actually 20,000 in the fire reserve because of the fire truck. I believe the town is budgeting accordingly because we're splitting the rest of it 50-50 with them. Parks and Rec, I threw an extra 15,000 in there because we got plans for up there. Interfund transfer doesn't seem to be, so we are at a proposed budget of $5,888. Of which only 1,320,062 will be raised from taxes. So our revenues, estimated revenues are over $4.5 million. As far as incomes go, I kind of touched on that. But if you want to skim over it, if you have any questions, shout them out. Do I have the old one here? No, I gave you the wrong figure. I have the old one
You
here.
should not be using that one. I saw you were using it.
I'm using the one we made with the little boo-boo was, the fire protection for the town was, I have the other one right here. Yeah. Is that this one?
Julie, grab that from him,
Take that away from me.
please.
Slap him too, Mike.
I'm not saying slap him, but get that one. When
Well,
I
that
saw
was
him,
the old one, and unfortunately, I'd say it was at page 7.
Yeah.
There was a error on, our
fire protect.
fire protection income.
2262.
Right, 2262, we missed a couple of decimal points, and it was 30,000 rather
Have the
than.
new one?
I do, I don't know where I put it.
This is different.
Tim,
This is
would you go grab
39.
that one off at the stand to make sure he's got the right one?
Yeah, you know what, bitch, it's on my desk.
It's the new budget on the stand.
On the
down
stand by
there.
the clipboard where you sign it.
Public can
Right.
get the new budget, but the mayor.
Right there, your, oh, that's
I got it,
just,
I got it, never mind, Tim.
Okay, there you go.
Wait, so what is 2262?
that's what it is now.
Okay.
We were
yeah.
missing a
2260,
zero.
it was 30,000 instead
Yeah.
of 300,000,
Yeah.
which really made us kind of chatter our teeth and bite our fingernails. And we thought we were gonna have to take some from our fund balance. See, every year we'll put money in our fund balance, whatever we don't spend in a budget goes into the fund balance.
Mhm.
So we keep the fund balances at what, 3 million?
It's like 6, I
Six-
think.
6
for
million?
general. Yeah,
So
I don't know the exact.
we
amount
take
right now.
whatever we feel, actually, the auditors said, whatever you feel appropriate to take out of your fund balance.
Yeah.
So in the past, we've taken various different amounts between 300,000 and 750,000. This year's 600,000 to make the
Budget whole,
budget whole and balance. I think we're within $2, right?
yes, on your tax cap.
On the tax cap, yeah. So we are
$2.
less than a 1% increase in taxes. And I think during this difficult economic times, Danae and Julie, the department heads, as well as myself, I want to applaud our efforts and their efforts for putting this budget together. So I want to make the statement that if you look at the grocery bill and your utility bills and, your electricity and gas, we actually lowered taxes.
Right.
If you at the end of it,
Yeah.
because the rate that things went up, you're talking 7% interest rates on 10% interest rates on a new car.
Car insurance.
Yeah, car insurance through the roof. My electricity, I'm $500 a month for my household. Of course, I have 2 teenage boys that like to shower with scalding hot water for 30 minutes apiece.
That's standard.
Yeah, so, but I would like to go back and if anybody has any questions at the end, I know you were just looking kind of quickly. Do you have anything that's glaring that you want to ask about?
I don't have anything that's glaring. I will say that don't feel like I've had enough time with it, so I think it's gonna be something where you might have to give me some more time and I can come up with more questions.
Direct them to Danae.
I will, yeah, just in case.
I did want to go over water. There is a couple of projects that we do have to do.
Can you give me a line number?
We're on F, anything under F,
Page 10,
page 10.
it's the whole new budget.
F is
the
a,
water.
is a, is a, is
There
the
you
start of the
go.
water budget. It's the key letter in the beginning. There is not much in the way of, aside from chemicals and costs going up, our revenues do not meet our expenditures. And that happened last year, for whatever reason, the revenues were raised and the water rates were not. So that leaves us with a, not really a shortfall because we do have money to make up for it, but we have to raise the water rates. We should have probably raised them last year. The last time we raised them was August of 22. Things have just gone up. Rates that we have to pay people, our insurance, chemicals, especially
Have doubled.
chemicals. They don't even go out to bid. Like, we can't go out to bid there's two companies that sell the chemicals we need. Can't even go out to bid with them.
And the county
They
doesn't
just-
even go out to bid either.
Yeah, they just tell you, this is what you're gonna spend on it, and it's gone up exponentially, so we probably should have raised the water rates every year, but this year we have to raise them, and I've decided, and you guys are ultimately gonna help me with the decision, to raise the village users 5% and the village outside of town 10%. We don't charge more than 15% more for out of town or out of village town water users. Other communities charge 2.5 times outside, like, what's the village? It is Whitehall. Whitehall charges 2.5 times their town outside of village water users. We're only at 15%. We're not even at 15%. We're at 14 right now. If you go down to it, it's generally our rule of thumb has been 15% more. Now, if we raise it, we're gonna be closer to 16, 17% and 10% on top of what they're paying now. We're working on them to get with them to establish their own water district. Because we shouldn't be repairing water lines outside of the village water district. So if they have a district, anytime there's a water break outside of the village, we're fixing it. We're the only water department around. That's our men. That's our village taxpayers paying our men. They should be, the town should have to pay more for their water.
If they want a village sewer rate or water rate, then annex it.
Yeah, and I've been in the talks about annexation of, Thompson Heights, Smith Street, and Prospect Heights. It's not going nowhere. It would not be a quick process, but there's some receptive people to it, because you can't get to any of those places without going through the village.
Right.
And that would just broaden our tax base, increase our tax base, and spread the pain out evenly to everybody. Everybody's taxes would go down if this happened.
Yeah.
Brings in revenue.
I'm a believer.
All right.
Well, you can also just, I don't know, run the numbers, but the water rate, you could just raise the out of village rate higher and just leave the village the same.
I could, and I thought of that, but we do have to pay our fair share for the increase, and it is fairer than the town. I even looked at going like 20% in the town, but I want us to maybe stage that, but we do have projects that are, we're looking at $70,000 in meters. We're looking at $80,000 for some controls that we need for, Keith, explain that a little better, because I'm doing a horrible job.
Yeah, no, it's, both water tanks and the Beach Road pump station have control panels. That's the telemetry that
They're outdated.
they're out, yeah, for all those, all those locations and how they read each other and
Right.
how they control the plant and all that kind of stuff. So they're 20+ years old. It's outdated technology. We're standardized with Aqualogics, and we reached out to them. And they said it'd be better. I thought I was gonna try to initially phase the 3 locations, 2 1 year, 1 the next year. They highly recommended that we do all 3 at the same time. And it kind of makes sense to me with their description of how this works. So that's why we're putting in this year's budget, or the upcoming budget.
Yeah, I think Chris had explained to me, because you put one in this year, next year, things are gonna change. Now you gotta take that new one, sync it to the old one, and the time you get a third one in,
Yeah,
now you gotta resync everything. They're off center, they're off keying off each other. And supposedly the way they work is when one tank gets lower or something, it
yeah,
all
that's,
balances each other out
We communicate with the water tanks. know-
internally with each other. So to do it one at a time,
it'd be way more costly.
Expensive
because of
by the
amount
third
of
one.
Manpower it would take to do that,
Yeah.
and that was what they discussed.
Yeah.
So we won't have that next year, that expense, that $80,000. We won't have to replace the boiler for $36,000. Our shortfall was $119,000. So those expenses won't be there next year. We won't need a vehicle. We don't have a vehicle, in this year's budget. Just got one.
Well, it's on its way,
It's
yeah.
on its way
It's already
from
paid
this
for.
current budget. But so I'm hopeful that if chemicals hold the line or stay, they're not gonna continually go up. I mean, they went a big jump, so they should level out. I'm hoping that next year we'll be fine. Well, it's gonna be money in, money out is how it should be with the water budget. We don't
Yeah.
make any money unless except for what we put in for reserves.
but now the
Or capital
percentage, the
project.
percentage will be on what's used, or the percentage is gonna be on the base,
Of what?
the 5%.
Percentage of the current cost. So the 5% will go up, the current cost will go up.
Of what's, like, if someone's water bill is.
It's
quarter,
$100,
it's
it'll be
$100,
105.
And someone that's 250, because they have kids that take showers and
Mhm.
baths, so it'll go up 200, or it'll go up 200.
5%.
5%, yeah.
So.
It'll go up 200,
Right.
it'll be
So
230.
So it's not off the
$15.
base rate,
Yeah.
it'll be off of the usage rate.
It's also, yeah, well, the usage rate is based on,
Right.
the base rate is based on usage. rate. You get $11,000 or 11,000 gallons
Right, but
for,
it's not gonna go up on the $76 that is. Like someone doesn't use for the quarter water, their bill is gonna be,
a minimal user will
Right.
still see a 5%
Yeah.
increase and 10% outside of the village. And that brought us to a very minimal shortfall, which we wouldn't, we have a $1 million fund that is designed to absorb any costs with that, and that's where we'll get that from. And it gets replenished. Not at the rate we need to use it this year, but in subsequent years, we're not gonna have to need it. Like, instead of needing 100,000 from it, well, maybe next year we'll need 10 or 20. Based on what our spending is and our outlook of cost. We have a lot of equipment being replaced so that when we do get a break, we have the equipment on hand physically there at the water department to go get it and put it in, like valves, and we put in for the endpoints, which we're trying to do a little bit every year to upgrade people's water, so Lori can find out if there's a leak ahead of time, if there's an extra amount of usage, or if they're stealing water. We have that capability now with the endpoints, the cellular endpoints. There's a $70,000 line item on here. It is 8350 4.1. We did that last year. It doesn't look like we spent any of the money this year, but they just got ordered. Or they're in the process
Yeah.
of being ordered. They have a rec.
Yeah, until
purchase
it
order
actually
for
gets
it.
paid, it doesn't pull out.
That will be money well spent, especially if you get a sewer rate, because when they steal water, then they're stealing.
Then they're
sewer.
stealing sewer as well.
Right,
Yep.
so that, we need to close that.
The price of sewer is high.
And
Everybody
sewer's-
wants to steal sewer.
Yeah.
I don't know about stealing any.
That's 5% across, that's residential, commercial.
Yes.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we gotta always explain when we raise anything but 5%. It's dollars, not hundreds or thousands, and possibly for commercial. But we're able to facilitate the raises to keep the people we have trained here, keep people happy. We have new equipment coming in. But we're growing as a village. There's growing pains with that 5%, especially where you're talking about all sets where the national trend is 7 to 10% on everything.
Yeah, when you're
We're getting more services for less.
You're looking at an 8% CPI. 5% is not a whole lot to really think about.
Below, below.
So, back to, page 1, A1210, I am going to leave the room and have you discuss that.
Glad he's leaving the room, 'cause I got a lot to say.
Go to the coffee bar.
Take him off. Take him off and.
I will, thank you.
Yeah. That's wrong.
Alright.
Text me, let me know when I can come back.
I don't have phones.
I have one.
Yeah, all of a sudden, assorted,
Choices, yeah. a lot of choices.
too many choices.
Have him off and-
I'll take one. Give mine
Yeah, please.
to go.
Go. Got to pay for the packaging. Order upcharge.
We started that.
Probably Joe.
I guess so. Deputy Mayor, right?
Yep.
All right, so I guess, what we're probably looking to do is increase Ray's salary by $10,000, the mayor's salary by $10,000. Again, like was mentioned last year, you didn't take a raise, coming into the new position. He didn't feel comfortable doing it. The amount of work that he has been doing, I feel $10,000 is probably under what maybe somebody should be getting for a position that he's accepted and is actually probably a lot more involved with someone that's new to this and doesn't have the time. The mayor's fees, I think, have been way underrated for what, other towns might pay for. I think right now he's still getting his feet wet but when I see he's doing a fantastic job. I haven't heard anything outside the village of any complaints of what the village is doing to some of the town board members and whatnot, and his involvement of what he's been trying to start getting control of. He's not had a lot of time to do his outside work that, was compensating for the lack of pay from the salary position. Like I said, I do see him a lot more involved in, since he's gotten into the office, daily communications with what's always going on between meetings here, there, whatever else. So as the mayor should be doing. But I think $10,000 the first year, I think still is under, but again, we're looking at our taxpayers' basis. I don't think that's too much to ask to maybe increase the salary. I don't know how you feel about that, John.
Did you want to go,
I
Jose?
just had a question. Once, because it's, if I know the rules again. When's the last time there was a raise?
It hasn't been, I couldn't, not since I've been in office.
And say
the
that
mayor.
$40,000 was a.
It's
years and
a
years and
local
years
law.
ago.
It's got to be changed by local law too.
Yeah.
It's part of the local laws.
Mhm.
It's in the code book. An
To
Can't
actual.
do
change
it
his
in the budget.
salary.
You can't do it in the budget.
Yeah, no, we could do it in the
We can do it in
budget.
the budget, but we do have to. also
In
put it
order
in the
to
law.
do it in the
Do it like
budget,
a
you
canvas,
have
like
to
your
do it
public
as a
hearing
local
on
law.
it.
Okay.
And my suggestion is, as Julie's, we get our fees, we get all of the cost of everything out of our local laws. Because you can't just, to change our water rates, local law. All of that is costing the village money to resubmit, to get new local laws printed, to get all that stuff done. We need to get those fees out of our local laws, get them onto a fee schedule, and then by resolution, the board changes the fees as they see fit. By resolution, not by law.
And then what you can do is, I would suggest once a year you go through. And you maybe,
Yes.
your annual, and you say, okay, well, we need to address all of these, where should this be?
Right.
And just do it once.
And then if you had like a huge water, say something massive happened in water, like pipes blew out of the ground. I mean, seriously, some big job. You could actually adjust your rates at that time to fit a period of 6 months. And then you could adjust your rates. You can do whatever you want with your fees by resolution if they're not part of your local laws. And that's really where the village, and this mayor's salary in the local
It
laws.
shouldn't be in there.
It's huge. It should not be.
It shouldn't be written into local law.
It's public
The
knowledge anyways. It should not be written
That
into
means every
local law.
time you look at it.
Now,
Does that make a
the
public
previous
hearing and
position,
everything?
it wasn't in a local law, the position of supervisor or whatever it is.
It's a local law. It's been in local law, I think, since, my guess is since Mayor Blaze made it a full-time position. I think when it went full-time position, it went local law to stay that way so that it wouldn't be able to be changed the next year, the following year, whatever, 10 years out. You know, it would be local law, it'd be permanent, because that's what you're,
You'd have to have a public Hearing and.
right, it could be. So, but it's a lot more work to get it
Yeah,
changed
right.
than not changed.
Right. And then the public gets involved.
Yes, so I guess my suggestion is I would get it out of there. It's in there. It has to be a public hearing, which Julie will have to go through that whole process, but it can be changed in your budget for the upcoming year, yes.
We can budget for it now and in the meantime, get the,
Get the ball
right,
rolling.
it's pretty simple because the public hearings, you can just make it like the next, you know. we can
She
do
could put it right
we can-
in
we can
another,
Discuss it on the 18th. We can write the law and vote on it in
Right, for the
April, and
25th.
that way it'll be,
see, you gotta
know,
do,
you
you gotta
get
do
it.
it with water too.
right.
I get what you're saying for some things, but I'm just thinking maybe for mayor and trustees. You might wanna keep it local law, cause
No.
doesn't that give us some checks and balances though? Because realistically, we're the ones deciding the salaries.
Right,
and-
you-
Yeah, but if it's a local law.
You're the only ones that can change it.
Right, but
Even
to
if you
have
do
a
it as a
public
resolution.
hearing.
There's a
is
public
to
hearing
hear
every
the-
time the. budget
You
is
are
approved.
gonna have a public hearing on your
Okay.
budget.
Okay,
Your budget's gonna be public knowledge and public hearing.
okay.
Julie is placing an ad in the paper advertising the public hearing and your salary's in there.
Okay, cause that's what I don't. want it to
Trustee
be just-
salary.
Oh, yeah, no.
Oh, no. Trustee and
No, we
mayor
put in-
salary are part of public knowledge and advertised in the Post Star. So you're out there.
It's
The only
all
thing
right.
that we're trying
No,
to,
Would we
it's
be
not
trying-
as.
It's not
no,
executive session.
no.
Oh, it's not
This is
executive
not.
session.
executive session.
That was my big question. I was like,
Yeah,
kept looking over.
no.
Yeah.
The only thing that I'm trying to stop, and so I think Julie's on board with me, is the massive additional costs of local laws to be established and just to be changed.
Just to give you an example, last year we did like 5 or 6 local laws and it cost us like $6,000.
Yeah.
Every time you make it, you're talking over $1,000 every time you make this. Oh, we're gonna move this from $2 to $2.50.
You guys can make them, but
It's-
then they
it's
still have
still
12
have-
be printed.
This way.
All
you
the
do it,
copies
and
gotta come
You
back.
do a resolution, you don't have to go through all those steps. You still have to have approval by the board and you guys still vote on it and you guys still decide what those fees are.
Yeah.
You just don't have to.
I don't have to
It's
go to
the
New York State.
codification, it's filing it with the state, putting it into law. There's a lot of different.
You're gonna
fees that you
adopt a
pay every
fee
time.
schedule as part of your organizational meeting every year. You will adopt all those fees and anything you see fit, unfit, you can change.
And if you look at any other town or village or whatever, you'll see a lot of them don't have them written into the law. They'll have it.
As
Here's
a
our fee
schedule.
And that way you can address them every year, look at them, do it once, do it at your annual and say, you know what? That way you're not making it extremely difficult for yourself to look, because you're talking, 40 items. If you had to change 40 laws to change because inflation's crazy, that's.
You're
we
talking
couldn't afford
$40,000,
it.
$50,000.
We
Plus
couldn't
the-
afford it.
Plus the work. plus
Well,
the
yeah,
paperwork.
that's not
I
even.
can't
to
afford
talk
Julie
about.
to do that.
Well, so this is different, cause we're just talking right now about
Right.
the salary for mayor.
Right, but what we're
It's the only
saying,
one
Yeah,
that
I
it's
hear what you're
written
saying.
into law for. It's not written into law for trustees.
it's
It's
right.
not written into law for clerks or treasurers. For some reason, it was done on the mayor's only. And I recommend that you take it out of there and you guys decide yearly at the budget or at your annual, at your budget, what you guys think that the fair.
As
pay
part of
should be.
as part of your public hearing.
Mhm.
Okay.
People
Does that
do.
answer your question?
It does.
But you were saying, when was the last time the mayor got a raise?
Yeah. the
I
reason-
think it went to full-time
whenever it went full-time.
There was the story, it was the mayor.
20 years?
Was gonna get.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Another
probably about 20
job.
years is what,
He was
this has
getting
been-
paid 20 and he was supposed to get another job somewhere else.
Right.
And in order not to get the other job, he stayed and
Yeah, he
he
told the
got
story,
40.
yeah.
That was this.
but
But I
20
would-
years.
I think he was gonna leave.
I think that you could look at the local law and on the bottom of the local law page, there's an adopted date.
When it went
And I
into effect.
think that that's when it
And
went
it's
into
still running.
effect.
So it's something that's, once it went in, it's been that way. Longer than I've been here.
I'm gonna hop in my soapbox, figured a lot of John.
Pardon me?
I'm gonna hop in my soapbox here. I'll promise trustee Joe, trustee John, trustee Allison and myself that I value work. I'm going through it right now where I'm budgeting for my own personal self and business. And I know costs are going up because I see it every day. I also see what good employees bring. I could say that this job for that $40,000, we received, and I'm taking nothing away from former Mayor Blaze. His stick to itiveness, what he's done is why we still have a village here. And I preface everything I say with that, because I don't know if the village would have withstood if not for someone like former Mayor Blaze, who started out as a traffic cop and worked his way through as the longest standing mayor in this country. That being said, I've seen from day one, the extra work that's been tasked on everyone here, on the committees, on your private time, what you're doing. I see John walking the streets on a daily basis, looking for everything going down there. It's a real deal. But I see that within these village laws, from the building to our telephones, which at times don't work, to our internet, to our antiquated payroll and things of that nature. You're right, there hasn't been a pay raise in 20 years because I don't feel that change has occurred in 20 years. What we're doing now, and we've seen in the past few meetings, whether it's securing our phone lines, our internet, the way we're collecting. I remember when I first met John 8 years ago, you mentioned the way to take parking meters. You visited somewhere in Vermont and you was excited to show me this app. And this is all coming to a head. The reason I'm bringing this up is because now we're here, we're used to 1 year roughly since we've had a new mayor in here. And changes happen. I've seen literally night and day, whether it's we're addressing these serious issues, bringing us up to date. Go on if you were to go on our website, perfect example. That website, if you look at it, it's antiquated, it's hard to navigate. And if you look at it, it really doesn't express, or it's not who we are at the village. We're moving forward. And I think that as far as a pay, when we pay our people, our mayor, our trustees, or so on, the pay is also for work that you're doing and where we're going. And it's also to entice, and I'll put it out there, the next person. Our jobs and what we were here elected for, this should be a job that anyone who loves this village should want. And by raising the financial, I use that term, reward for your time, you're opening up to more people who may want this position to work harder. So I know it sounds weird for me to advocate, to give raises so more people will run. Well, this job should be interesting to more people. I feel that sometimes with the pay rate, you edge people out, citizens would really love to do this position and help the village. Yeah, it's not financially feasible. You know, you're not gonna leave here a millionaire like some of our federally elected folks, but you do leave with a sense of pride. And I think that the work that's been done from April of last year, I'm not gonna add in all the hours for DRI, the fact that we just got this $10 million award, the fact that I know that we're actively working on, I keep going back to the telephones and the internet because it's all about security. You want to be held ransom. We lost key components in our office with Denise leaving. Everyone stepped up, whether it's Danae on down the line, Julie, everyone is doing more and more and more work. And I think that work should be compensated. Joe hit it on the head when he said Ray our current mayor could do less work on his, which brings income into his family of four. I think it's fair, the 40. I honestly, I look at the city of Albany. I know what they get, 120 grand a year. I know a lot of that money's through pilot. But I'm not asking for that, and I know he'll never ask for that. But I think the honestly, at bare bones, $60,000 is good for the amount of time. Cause this job is a lot of time. We're going from handwritten notes and handshake promises to something that's, everything's official. I know as a private citizen, I was a victim to handshake promises from previous administrations. You're here with us. And I like the fact that we're doing it right. And I'm not saying anything wrong with the previous mayor. But I think that we have to understand that moving forward, it takes more work to do it right. John, you're a big stickler on doing it right, and that's why I actually appreciate when you speak during the meetings. Because you don't do the handshake to move forward. You're doing it right on the black and white and moving up. And I think in order to keep that job and keep professionals in these positions, we have to pay them professionally. The job of mayor is no longer an ombudsman walking around shaking hands and waving on things. The former mayor did a great job of it. The job now has become more of an executive role. And we really have to come together and do it. And as far as the future, because everything that we're mentioning here, whether it's updating, digitizing and so on, it's gonna take more work, more personal time. I guarantee that not a single person here could go to our local Price Chopper without running into someone, having someone ask you questions. It happens all the time. You're walking down the streets, you know, before I was elected, I constantly asked John, what'd you see? Look at the crack in that sidewalk. You're always on, you're always working. I know your neighbors speak to you. You speak to a lot of neighbors. It's an important job. I think that it should be paid accordingly. And I know that it looks like a huge jump, but in reality, it isn't for the amount of work that's being done. I think we've gotten very lucky throughout the years for not having to pay much, but for that position. But I think you get what you pay for. And you know, we're all friendly. We're afraid. We all know, right? We live in a very small village. But as far as the body work being done and the holes that have been filled, I think it's very important that we pay our mayor as an executive moving forward and everyone around this table for the work that you're putting in. I recognize it, and I know that, you know, I'll speak on our end here real quick. You know, you didn't sign up for this job to leave it wealthy or anything of that nature. But as far as your time being compensated, our time is more than just meetings. Ray's time is more than just a once a month meeting. In reality, we're up to probably 2 meetings a month now, trying to straighten out the ship. But I think it's important that we do recognize that, and with our constituents, at least for me, I know I can look them in the eye and tell them when we do put a raise in here, that was a valid raise, and I can give 101 reasons why. But the biggest reason I could tell you why we got this raise, or why I think he should get this raise, is look at the bottom line, look at the books, look at the press of what we've done. Everyone put in the work. You got a $10 million DRI. I was proud when I drove into town. I saw the drones flying around. We're starting to answer the questions that people have been asking. We're starting to fill in those blanks, and I guess that's my soapbox right there. Thank you.
So, all in all, you're looking for a rate again, instead of 50, you're looking at 60.
I was looking at 60, and I can't hold that number for the sure fact of time.
Okay,
How much
well, and I
time?
just wanted to, you know, just so they
Yeah, to
didn't get
be
lost.
clear, I
in
was looking at
translation.
60, because it's no longer, because I remember the former mayor explaining his day and how he was done.
Right,
That, I don't understand how you could, run a village as a part-time. You're never part-time, because
Peaceful.
I understand, but the pay was that of a part-time executive. Is what I was saying.
Right.
I apologize. That's the point that I'm trying to make. If you're trying to get a quality work, quality time, you have to pay for it. Just like the raises we gave across our board to our people. This right here, this is an executive position.
Right.
That I think should be accounted for.
yeah, well, I understand what you were saying and all that, but I know, Ray put in 50. I agree with the 50, you're saying you deserve more, so. I just wanted Allison and John feel about it.
You want to lengthy one, because you said you need to leave it.
It's it's fine.
I'll be quick, pretty
Go-
quick
Go
here.
for it.
Yes, Bob was underpaid for years. He kept it that way, I think, to discourage any competition. But he did a lot of work, and he did the events for $40,000 per year. He kind of painted Ray and the whole board into a corner here at that price. Last year, this board established the fact that the job really is worth 75 because we took one job and split it into two.
Right.
Bob's making 35, Ray's making 40, so now the job's worth 75. In my mind, if Ray wants to be the events director, he can have 75. Or whatever portion of the events he wants to take over. If he wants to take over the village portion of it, an extra $10,000 because, you know, that phasing, obviously,
Mhm.
you have to phase Bob out, and I don't want to use that word phase out, but
Yeah.
I mean, the position. And then if he wants another $10,000 for this year, and then eventually the whole 35, then he can make 75, but he's mayor and events director, like Bob did for all these years.
Right.
You have to justify to the public how you're raising the mayor $10,000 his first year, and percentage wise, that's like 25%. When everybody else is getting a much smaller percentage than that. Ray, when he ran for the position, he knew it paid 40. In fact, when in the early discussion, remember John Earl wanted to cut the mayor's salary because Bob was gonna be that, well, and I said, no, leave it at 40. So that's my thinking. And I just heard about Bob's accident today. So maybe it is time for Ray to, he's doing the work anyway.
Right.
He cleaned up the mess last year.
Yeah, I agree 100% with what John
But
was saying.
that
earlier,
means,
yeah.
that means the executive director position needs to be reduced by 10.
Right. Well, that,
Right.
eventually that would have been the next conversation when that time came up. but
Well,
right
Ray
now-
kind of alluded to it in our earlier discussion. He said, well, we may have to talk about that.
Right. Well,
Whatever
and that I
whatever
had
portion-
thought about that. He's taking it over,
Yeah.
but whatever he's getting a raise would be a decrease of what the village's participation in the director's account.
Exactly.
So as being a director, that would slide into the difference.
Can we do that though? Because that was paid out of occupancy tax.
Right.
Can we pay the mayor when occupancy?
Well, no, well, not the mayor, but if we gave him $10,000, if we raised the position of $10,000 to 50,000. Then the directors, we probably can do is, probably reduce part of our intake of, still get the rest of that out of occupancy as a director.
Right, but can we take the occupancy? We've been paying the executive director with occupancy tax. money.
Right.
Can we pay the mayor with occupancy tax money?
He would,
No,
he
we
would
can't pay
get,
the mayor.
he would still get paid out personal services of OCC tax. It would not be added to the mayor's salary.
So where would that $10,000 reduction just go into the other occupancy tax?
Yeah, it would come out of your 6410.
It'd be nice if that was dedicated to something. I just don't want to just like work its way into.
So you're saying at this point, you would want 6410 personal service to be split between two people?
The
No.
current salary for the mayor is $40,000. The executive director is 35. The executive director would reduce to 25. And the mayor would be elevated to 50, but.
Okay, you
Ten-
could, yeah, you could change 6410 to 25,000 in the budget.
You call it a number 6410.
Well,
Yeah,
it's your
yeah,
account
line.
number.
Line, no,
It's your account number.
just said. Same.
I
Yeah,
think this conversation is gonna be challenging to figure out because we just found out that Bob is injured, so we have no idea if he's doing it or not doing it. So, right, we can't really make a decision on this.
Well, he's
Well-
still physically the event coordinator until the year, our
Okay.
fiscal year is up.
Okay,
So we still have time for that.
yeah,
But right now, the key thing is what we're looking as far as salary. I think Ray is gearing up to maybe look into being advanced, eventually taking over for Bob.
He's already
And
doing.
now I know he's taking all that.
Americade, he's doing.
That's what I'm
Americade.
saying, he's taking over a lot of the responsibilities and that's why he's with that, but
And that was part of the original plan anyway. He said he was gonna
Right.
shadow the mayor.
yep. Yes, it's 1 year.
so your argument was raising the salary because you don't feel that he has the ability to spend full time at the village with the 40,000.
Well, no, the 40,000, I think he's doing more than $40,000 worth of work
Okay,
with, being here, and meetings and
Yeah.
you know,
Well, so did Mayor Blaze. Mayor
Yeah.
Blaze did more than 40,000.
Well, and I think that was still, you know, a salary that he took on upon himself, and he never wanted a raise.
Oh, yes. If you look back in the minutes, I suggested last year. that should
2
be
years
ra-
ago, 3
yeah,
years
should we
ago,
raise
4
it?
years
Yeah,
ago.
kept turning it down, so.
Yeah. So, but with the amount of work that he's taken on right now, all right, if he does decide he wants to do that position, well, then maybe we just reduce down the event coordinator and still get the money from the town and the village, county. But right now, what's at hand is I'm looking at, you know, a $10,000 raise for the mayor's position.
Mhm.
And that's what's on, and Jose still was asking about the 20.
Well, you're increasing his responsibility. It's not just.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
he's
it's
taking
not-
on additional
Yeah, with
responsibility
what he's taken on and
Right.
what he has been.
to
doing.
justify the raise.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, working full time with trying to get now, you know, going wireless and everything else like that. It was part-time that he was doing as a trustee, looking into it. Where Mayor Blaze wasn't, he always had someone else doing it. Ray's been doing it himself, doing all this, looking into the new pay meters.
Oh, yeah,
and
he's,
So he's putting in,
I know.
More
I'm
time
Doing a
and-
good job.
Yeah.
I'm not- Yeah.
so I'm just saying, you know, I think he's been putting in more than enough time to,
He's,
you know,
updating, modernizing.
Yes.
Yeah,
where we should be.
we got a ways to go.
Yeah, oh, we do, but. So,
You need to. Yes,
It's fine.
okay.
I was just speaking, I apologize, about, I like John's idea a lot. I also like Joe's, is it possible that would say it's $50,000? Just so you think next person or for the next election, you know, 50,000 was the base. But that's special events money. If we could, 'cause we're gonna have to, the former mayor Blaze's contract, you that term, his term
Ends.
ends in April.
Right.
And this is our last meeting pretty much before we have to go in and vote on it. Should we add this as an agenda item for Monday to discuss moving forward? Is it too soon?
It has to be decided, right?
It has to
well, the event coordinator had to be decided by I guess well, that position's there, it's who's gonna fill that position.
Mhm.
The event coordinator is 35 right now. So that'll have to be decided who's gonna fill that position, whether Bob Blaze is gonna be,
Oh.
do it again, or,
Maybe I didn't understand your question. Are we wondering, you're asking, should we commit to Bob for the next season?
That's
100, oh, no, okay, I was just thinking, like, cutting back on his responsibility. You're talking about just
Well, 'cause
replacing him.
I remember that meeting clearly and how the wording was Ray would learn the job.
Right.
And moving forward, I think that, and I voted on the 1 year, so I was on the same mindset with Allison. On that, you know, not a separation, but because it was a transition period.
Transition, right,
We're transitioning.
right.
And, so now we have to, do we give them another year, or do we change the terms of it? Or do we move
well,
forward?
I don't
with
think
that
there's
position?
ever,
Well, Ray's part of that discussion because then we
Yeah.
would have to decide,
Yeah,
does he want to
because
take
Ray
the
would have-
entire
yeah.
responsibility or a portion of it or?
I
but
thought if we could put
it's a
on the-
1 year commitment for
Yeah.
that, so whether Bob decided or we decided maybe, or he might say he can't physically do it. But again, you know, that's something where, you know, we could discuss in our regular meeting.
That's why I was wondering if so 50,000 is a standard for the mayor and that event coordinator job is worth 35,000 or so. If we have it on our Monday meeting, so we can actually speak and debate it on what we want to do with that position moving forward, because our next meeting will be April, and we're gonna need to know what we're gonna do for there, and again, 35 grand shared with the county, it's a lot of money. And if he's gonna take on that job, you're right, Ray should be part of that discussion, that's what we're gonna do it Monday. Or on our next meeting, because that's a lot of, he has 2 children from Gary College.
Right.
Do you wanna take on that responsibility?
So
know.
let me just ask for Joe, and if we're all in agreement that basically that position, former Mayor Blaze position, we set a value of that at $75,000. How Ray wants, how much of that responsibility Ray wants to take on, that's up to him.
Right.
Whether it's 100%, whether it's 10%, whatever. So that's Ray's choice and the board's choice, but we're all in agreement that that's where the increase comes from. It doesn't come an additional, so you would, if you were to take that $10,000 and just add it right to the mayor's position, now you're saying that that position that Bob held for all those years really
Wasn't worth 35.
$85,000. 85, because now you know, so
Right.
$75,000 for mayor and event director, which is a seasonal job, wouldn't you say?
Well, it's a seasonal functional, but it's the annual commitments and
Right,
working.
but still, the bulk of the work comes, and he has an assistant here. Or,
Files
Ray-
the paperwork.
yeah, so, I mean, that's the formula that I'm looking at.
Well, right now, I'm not worried about filling in a position. I'm just asking for Ray where he was able to fit to the budget of $50,000 to a $10,000 pay increase for the mayor's position is all I'm looking for right now. Whatever happens with the event coordinator happens with the event coordinator. I'm just saying, I think it's justifiable that he's worth the extra time that he puts in at the mayor's position for the next 3 years or so is worth the $50,000 position. I'm not worried about special events right now.
So then I wouldn't be in favor of increasing the mayor's salary and raising the budget.
You're
It's
not.
Why
not,
not?
it's,
No.
it's currently in there.
But I mean, I'm not from previous, I'm not in favor of raising the mayor's salary $10,000 without taking on additional responsibility.
Okay.
That's where I'm at, because we basically have said that that job is $75,000. Because you basically, according, even the mayor even said it, so you took one job, you cut the responsibility in half, and they kept the same amount of money. How can you go to the public and say that you cut somebody's workload in half and keep the same amount of money, and now you're gonna raise them his first year 25%?
Do you guys have anything to say? I don't know.
I have,
Julie? Yeah. you wanna
I
say
have.
something?
to hire anybody at a full-time position, especially as somebody who oversees everybody in the entire village, at $40,000 a year is crazy. You can hire somebody to dig ditches and pay them 45. It just doesn't make sense to not pay the person that's running it all more.
John, can I say something?
Mhm.
I think, I understand exactly what you're saying, but I think your argument would be justified if you said exactly what you said 15 minutes ago, that you feel that the original mayor, Mayor Blaze, was very underpaid. And that you had fought for years to get an increase in his salary. So now we have, or the board has that option, you have that option to do that increase if you choose, knowing that the job has been underpaid for many years. I think that could be your argument to the public when you say how do you justify it? That's how you justify it. For years, I felt that this has been underpaid. And for years, I asked the prior mayor, even when the prior mayor decided he wasn't gonna run. Should we increase the salary? And the prior mayor always said no. But I think the mutual feeling of the board was probably yes at that time. So now you have the option to do it. Now you gotta decide if you want to do what you wanted to do years ago, or you want to do what you want to do now.
Do you guys have anything you wanna say? to
No,
them?
Can I say? one
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah, go.
As a department head, it ends with me in my department, that's a lot of responsibility. Being the mayor of Lake George is a lot of responsibility, we have issues like hurricanes and stuff like that, and it all stops there.
Yeah.
It all goes there, and it doesn't go farther, he's got to figure it out, he's got to make it right. How much is that worth?
Right.
I feel like a big part of my salary is my responsibility.
That's why I
You
say
know,
Bob's,
my mayor plays, Bob played George, and, you know, he might have done it, so he got reelected, he didn't pay raises. I think he gave him a hometown discount too,
Yeah,
and he loved doing the events, he loved doing events, I mean, it is a full-time job, he does, you know, I'm around the mayor a lot, so. I feel like I can speak, you know, he worked all winter on, you know, arranging bands and doing all that type of work. You know, I can see both sides to it.
yeah, I'm just looking at how the public perception would be. And already I've heard it, well, I've heard it from people that say, what, you cut the job in half and you kept this $40,000, you know? What would, well, I don't know what.
I think also
I'm
the
listening still.
Mayor Perry's, I mean, if you've been in his office, you've seen, you know, how much more technical it's become and how much more he's on the computers and he's, I don't,
He's here in the office
I,
too,
you know, it's,
all the time.
I'm not saying Ray doesn't,
I just need
deserve-
to know to get this ready
Here
for
full
you
time.
guys.
yeah,
I just,
Absolutely.
you know, if we need to adjust this, we need to adjust this. That's what the workshop is for right now. But I just need to know today, unfortunately, in order to have everything ready for you guys for
Monday.
next Monday.
So whatever change would happen, the increase, we still have to amend the local law.
Yes, no
Yeah,
matter
that can
what.
happen. That can happen between now and June 1st.
Yeah, if you don't change it, you don't have to do anything with the local law. If it's right, if
Right.
it's kept the
If
same.
it's increased, then we have to change it.
Right, but my suggestion would be when the fee schedule takes place, if it ever takes place.
We're working on it. That's in the agenda.
Right, we just get that completely out of there and then you never have to deal with that again.
Yep.
I'm on the same lines with Ben, you know, he's the leader of the pack. You know, the mayor, you know, the former mayor, our current mayor. And again, he has a good web of superintendents and department heads. And he's the one bringing us all together right now. And, I think that if it was a $10,000 increase in today's society is a drop in the bucket. And that's how I feel. Regardless of public, you know, understanding of it or not, I still think that it's warrant a $50,000.
Yeah, just to give you an example, the supervisor, which is kind of the equivalent to the mayor in our town, is $60,000.
They increased it.
But that he gets money from the county.
Right, they do get some of
But
the
he
money
gets
from
a
the
base
county,
salary.
but that's. People wouldn't run for it if they wouldn't, and there's a lot of people that didn't run in our town because of the fact that they couldn't afford to.
I think I can see what Julie's saying, like this, like Ray's side, the mayor's job, 50,000, it seems like that should be a fair salary for a full-time position, and that's what we're saying it is, so. is that-
You're gonna get what you pay for
Right,
going forward. People, yeah, I mean, if it becomes a fiscal reason to not run, you want quality people. It's that simple. You want quality, intelligent people that care. And it costs money. I mean, they can't
right.
not live their lives and pay for their kids and, you know, everything else going up. You can't hold it forever. And I think that the former mayor was probably able to accept the 40,000 because he had his own money. I don't think that the $40,000 was the reason he ran and stayed here. I think that
Yeah,
he
I
probably.
think he loved it. I think he loved the community. He loved, and I think the new mayor does. And, you know, I think he, like these guys said, you know, he's the one that's gonna hold this together when something major goes wrong, major happens. Hopefully it doesn't, but I don't think you can ever, I don't know, as a chief elected official, I don't know.
I'm having a difficult time finding somebody that will accept the position for payroll clerk, which is a way less,
If you guys know
a lot
anybody.
less experience.
Anybody knows anybody.
We've offered twice and been rejected twice
I think.
at the rate, so I don't think that expecting a mayor to do what he's gotta do for the amount of responsibility that he's got, to do something for the same amount of money as, basically what we're offering.
That hasn't changed in
payroll
20
for.
years.
I think across the board, it looks good, like everybody's getting a raise that probably needed to happen in order to stay competitive with other places. It seems like this might be a competitive salary for a mayor. I get what you're saying, the special events coordinator salary now comes out of it, and I think that is something maybe we have to have another discussion on in the future and figure out what we're gonna do with that. So I feel like based off of what everyone's saying, I would say I'm in favor of just doing that 50,000, and then like previous years now, we can do a more realistic increase, right? Because like most people only get like a 2.5% to 3% raise every year, but because it hasn't happened in so many times, we're saying that's what's making up for it. And now going forward, we are back on schedule with normal salary increases. Would you say?
I think your events coordinator salary, I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I think as financial officer, the budget will allow for both those salaries to remain as is, but I understand what you're saying. And maybe if the one person is gonna do both of those, at that time, it then is discussed as to what the salary should be for the events coordinator.
Yeah.
But at this point, I think per the contract that we got with prior mayor, we need to leave the 35 in the budget. Leave that line the way it is. Because I mean, it's not all paid by us. The county gives us money towards that.
Mhm.
Well, so does the town.
And the town and the county
Correct.
both fund that 35,000. So it's not like it's all on your revenue side, you have the town and the county's money coming in to fund that account. So that's not just all taxpayers' personal service, I guess is what I want to say.
Okay, so if we raise Ray to 50,000 for this year, and then going forward, raises would depend on, it would be just a percentage increase after that, or he took on additional responsibilities with event planning, then he would get a larger bump of that. Twice.
That's my.
That's, I think what the, yeah. I
Okay,
think
yeah, that's,
what they're
yeah,
saying.
I mean, I never said that Ray was, I always thought he was underpaid.
Yeah,
And so was Bob underpaid, but I was
Yeah.
just looking at the public perception, how do you go from 40 to
I think it's very simple.
$75,000 for the
I
same
think
job?
most people will understand $40,000 in this day and age. is
I
nuts.
think Jose
Well, they got,
summed it all
I
up
know, but they,
too.
people got comfortable with the
Right.
mayor
I
being paid
seriously do. I
$40,000.
mean, the cost of
And now
everything,
we've
and
got,
you know
we're
that
spending
with the business. and-
$85,000 for the same thing. That's, you have to explain it to the public.
Yeah, it makes sense what you're saying too. So. very
Yeah.
good.
Right, I always thought too,
Mhm.
this is the CEO, and you've got the two people underneath him that are, he's making half the money. It didn't make sense to me.
Well, I think another thing, always a good, comeback that I have found with people who want to say, well, how do you justify that? Or how do you justify? You know what? Just get involved in your community and then you'll know how it's justified. Get involved in the little bit of village, whether it's through, Student Connection or the Teen Center or any of the stuff that the village does. Once you get involved in that, then you're gonna see everything that's done that you guys do, that the mayor does, that these guys do. I mean, it won't take long for somebody to realize.
All right, so then are we in agreement of the increase of 10 is fair for the mayor? All right, so we can bring it right down, get the meeting going, finish it up.
We don't vote, right?
No, no,
Ye-
no.
No, we
No.
just, what we're
No,
doing is,
your vote
we'll,
will be on the 25th,
on the budget.
on the full budget.
And when the mayor comes down, I'm just gonna ask everybody that as far as, I didn't hear anybody have any adjustments to the budget Am I correct?
Yeah, I'm fine. You all set with the budget?
If there's any adjustments to budget, that's what this workshop is going to tell me
Yes.
to do.
Because we actually
Well,
have
yeah.
to present to the public
Okay.
I have to make
Our
copies, get this on the
proposed
counter.
the budget, which is basically what you'll vote on.
I think-
A couple small ones.
You do?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, all right, just, yeah, yeah. Oh, you get paid?
Stay SAP. Figure all those up there, maybe get some more time.
Do you have anything else?
I just want to make sure that with beautification, this is gonna be enough for Judy for them to get the proper equipment. I know she was telling me that they were bringing their own.
We have her list.
And you,
Yeah,
We,
here, I can actually, I think I have an extra
That's what I wanna
copy.
make-
I
I
have
wanna
an
make
extra
sure no
copy. You
one's
can
bringing
see
their
This is
own
exactly what
equipment.
she asked for and exactly what she got.
Yeah, I believe that everything that Judy,
because we did take some things out.
Oh, did you?
and what, and you took stuff out because it's double the DPW
Oh,
has
because
those
DPW put
equipment?
in for it?
You said that they already had
Well,
that.
well, the DPW has resources that have been shared with the beautification department for years.
Mhm.
So we do have like double items,
Okay.
you know, hand tools, they want new items that we already have that can be shared.
Okay. So is there like is there a schedule, you know, because that's the thing I
Well,
would think,
that's up
there's,
to Judy.
well, there's double,
Yeah,
so.
Judy and John will talk, prior to any, project that they're gonna start and what equipment they're gonna use or the resources.
Okay.
Yep.
And so you don't foresee in the future there being difficulties with that and
No.
saying like.
No, we didn't, I mean, she got, we put in for, one of the bigger items was the, golf cart that she asked.
Mhm.
You know, some of the bigger items, stayed in there. It's more some of the smaller items that were redundant. She, you know, like a chainsaw, she doesn't need, we don't want the beautification to have a chainsaw. You know, they haven't been trained on them. Things like that. We have 3 other chainsaws in the street department.
Well, maybe as far as chainsaws, maybe those battery loppers
if you look at what she wanted. she
They
wanted
have
this
those
for the
are-
1 inch, they have them.
Well,
already.
they have.
For her materials.
Well, I'm saying like the
and
little, for the 1 inch
And they
chainsaw,
gave her 10.
Yeah.
you know, the little 8 inch blade
So
you can get
even when you
Walmart
We
or
have 2 of those.
two of the
She
little
should
battery
have-
ones.
She should
No,
have
these are
one.
gas powered.
Okay.
Oh,
I wanna
okay.
make sure that
And
you've
And the
gotten that.
equipment one.
Right,
is
but I'm saying
gonna be
where maybe
that she
if
doesn't
she's
have
looking
on
for a
her.
small chainsaw, maybe she can get the
Yeah.
little loppers, a battery
So she's
operated
got
loppers
money.
for $50
These
for the little.
root combs
really
are under one of Keith's
Staying away
accounts.
from
Okay.
Them with
We
the-
talked about
some
that.
of
He
our
wants to get
temporary
them
employees running chainsaws
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
monogrammed,
Mhm.
which I
Okay.
think just. for
They haven't been
you know,
trained.
So if
the
she needs something, hey, listen, I need a bunch of things cut down.
DLG.
Yeah.
She
so
can
we'll
mark
reach
them
out
for
to-
you, and then you guys would go out.
John, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
how we've done in the past, and we have
Oh, no, that's fine. That's just-
ample, equipment to do it.
Okay. As long as they're not bringing their own tools anymore, that's what I want to make sure.
Well,
I
we
think
just have to
Brian
explain to
was-
Judy, if she needs
Brian was
something chainsaw,
originally-
talk to John,
Right.
mark them, and then those guys can come out
Okay.
and, you know, take them down. So we don't have to worry about, like Keith said, them operating, you know, equipment that maybe, you know, they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Well, OSHA is like, shouldn't be bringing their own equipment anyway. So, yeah, so that's what I'm gonna make sure that they aren't.
Well, we're not responsible, and that's the whole thing. If someone gets hurt on equipment, or their own equipment they're bringing in, we can't be liable for it because it wasn't
Yeah, there's.
a spec item that,
Kind of help to pay with that.
then if it breaks, we're not responsible either. So we just have to talk to Judy, just communicate if there's something big like that that you need.
Okay.
No hand tools or something like that, I'm sure we can figure out, but
We've got mountains.
Okay. Yeah. As long as she's getting.
Somebody want to tell Ray the good news? I
I
don't
think
know.
they already said from somewhere you said.
Yeah,
I-
gave him
I-
$5.
Stephanie Mayers. Let Jill
yeah, so
know
we
for it.
discussed it, and we feel fair that. We feel it could be more, but I think right now $10,000 increase to the, you know, for the position. would probably be a little easier to, you know, for people to digest.
Yeah.
At this time, so.
Okay, thank you all.
I'll just explain my position because that was kind of an outlier, as you can
No.
imagine, you know. I just thought that, the mayor, the previous mayor had done the job for so long, $40,000 a year. Last year, we took one position, divided into two, so essentially turned that position into $75,000 a year. So I thought it'd be tough to justify that to the public and how we can raise your, I'm not saying you're not worth 50 or 60, or I think you're worth
And he never
70.
said you weren't.
Yeah.
No, I
so-
appreciate that.
I would say that, and if you remember, John Earl wanted to cut your 40 when, I said,
Yeah,
no, I said, keep it at 40, but I was pushing to see if you would take out some of that responsibility to justify the increase, but I'll leave that up to you because, apparently you're gonna be doing it anyway. You've already done it.
right.
You have been doing it.
That aside, the amount of hours alone I've been devoting to the position. I don't know if everybody's not aware of what I do on a day to day. It's day, night, weekends, holidays.
'Cause there was
I believe
complaint
I've
about-
gone above and beyond what my predecessor did, only because of the physical limitations that were upon him due to age. But also you and I had asked him, and Joe had asked him for several years, you should increase it. You
Right.
should, and he didn't, he was a stalwart on that.
Well, he kind of painted you and us into a corner with that $40,000 a year for whatever reason. So we just have to paint our way out of it, I guess. So,
Well, thank you all.
thank you.
But other than that, I
Take it down
think
the
we,
fence.
we decided that so we can move on to Nate and do what she needs to do. We hadn't come across anything that we noticed need to be major changes in the budget as of now, so.
Okay. So we'll get it, the draft in final form for Monday's meeting, or I mean, the 25th.
25th.
So we got 2 weeks.
But
Any
again,
changes?
just to keep in line with the budget, you talk to Judy, explain to her, say, hey, listen, anything that is out of what she's got, please talk to someone and see
Yeah,
what we
don't-
can do.
She's pretty good at communicating
Yeah.
with Keith and John.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she'll be back soon, but we can talk to her anytime now. But I know we did, omit some items
Mhm,
that I felt and John felt that weren't necessary.
okay.
But it's
But
not a
I-
lot, it's not a big money amount, it could be $800 at the most. or something
Right.
like that.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot.
I
She's
think,
one of one of the few people that will be like, oh, gee, I'm so sorry, I need to go to Lowe's. I'm like, well, how much is it gonna be? And she's like, it's gonna be like $125. I'm like, you're okay,
Yeah.
Judy. Go get $125. So she is fiscally responsible, and not to mention, sometimes there's things that they need that I can find cheaper.
Okay.
So even though she might have found a price, I might be able to find them some things cheaper too.
Okay, everyone, any other comments, suggestions, questions? Before we, adjourn the meeting?
Oh, nice job.
It was, I mean, it
Everybody,
was a lot of work. We put a line by line several times, each of us, just to make sure that we had everything in right, and, hats off to Danae and Julie for
Yep.
all of their help. All right, thanks, everyone.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
There you go.
Order.